Guys, welcome in. We're getting Mr. Gottlieb on the line. We have an explosive story on Mexico that we'll be spending some time with Alan on, and a number of other issues, some amicus briefs and things like that. Greg is back. Welcome back, Greg.
Yeah, I'm back. Here we are.
Greg is back. I told him when he left last week, I said, I'll see you soon. I'll see you too soon.
Oh,
and here it is already.
Soon.
Too soon, right? And it's been a week. But good lineup for you. AWR Hawkins at the bottom of this hour. Alan Gottlieb at the top. Next hour, Russell Stuart from Beverly Hills Guns. A new book coming out about turning our boys into men. And it is a good one. Good heavens. Can't wait to talk with him about that. And a classic roundtable. A lot of fun topics for you. We'll be going live with you here in about a minute and a half. Yeah, we're talking about the time change, guys. Welcome in. 30 seconds. Mr. Gottlieb is on the line with us. Let's get ready to rock and roll on the Monster Cast. I'm going to have some fun with you today. Looks like we're about ready to roll.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Kahr Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center. Proudly presented to you by the National Rifle Association. National Rifle Association. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio Network's Monster Cast begins right now. Oh, love this. Here in the Kahr Firearms Group studios, the CZ mic fired up for you today on a rainy, cold, chilly, very weird day. I'm sure you're feeling me. Its time seems a little bit off. It sure did get dark early today, Greg in Dallas, Tejas. How you doing, brother?
I am doing pretty good, and I absolutely hate this time. I love this time change because I get my sleep back, but I hate this time change because it gets so dark so early, and it's so annoying.
It takes a while to get used to, and it's still going to get a little bit darker, but that's okay. Hey, guys, this is all being brought to you by the Great National Rifle Association. We'll talk more about them and our great partners, all of our great partners coming up throughout the broadcast. Going to be a good one with you today for 3 hours. We got a good lineup and some great topics to cover with you. And you can watch us on Facebook.com/Armed American Radio, Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. And Greg, I'll let you do your thing. Can you remember? It's been a week. You welcome back from your vacation, and I'll let you do that. Tell people where to get in the chat. We'll go right to my opening comments and then to Mr. Gottlieb.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. See if I remember how to do this. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com, hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. You can also listen to us on X or watch us on X. Head on over to X at AAR Mark. And to join the live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yeah, that will do it. So picture this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to break this down for you because this is not some tinfoil hat conspiracy we're getting ready to talk about with Mr. Gottlieb. The Mexican government, folks, the very same government that's been whining for years about how our guns are flooding their streets and arming their cartels, has been caught red-handed buying American-made firearms that are ending up in the blood-soaked hands of those very same narco-terrorists. That's right. Uncle Sam's taxpayer dollars funneled through legal sales to the Mexican government are arming the monsters who pump fentanyl across our border and turn our streets into war zones. I want you to think about this. So let's break this down. As I said, this is not tinfoil hat conspiracy. It's cold, hard fact from a bombshell report out just late last month. In 2023 alone, Mexican authorities recovered over 1,000 U.S.-sourced guns from cartel crime scenes. Think about these numbers. And get this, 779 of them, nearly 80%, were originally purchased by the Mexican government itself. That's from a Baltimore Sun report, and we'll be talking about that with Alan. These weren't smuggled in the dead of night by some rogue coyotes, folks. These were official buys from the Mexican government, licensed above board, meant for their military and cops. But thanks to rampant corruption down south, where cartel bribes flow like tequila and officials flip faster than a politician at a fundraiser, think Newsom, those guns vanished into thin air and reappeared blasting away in Sinaloa shootouts and Tijuana turf wars. Now, if you're like me, that makes your blood boil. Here we have Mexico's leaders strutting into the U.S. Supreme Court just this year, suing our gun manufacturers for aiding and abetting the cartels by daring to sell firearms legally to Americans. They don't like that. They're screaming about, what do they call it? I think an iron river, they called it, or pipeline, like the U.S. gun grabbers do, of guns from the U.S. pointing fingers at hardworking gun shops in Arizona, Texas, all over the country, while their own procurement offices are basically running a black market drive-through for the Zetas and Jalisco New Generation cartels. Hypocrisy? This is hypocrisy on steroids. And it's also laced, get my play on words here, with the same poison they're shipping north. And who's footing that bill? You and me. Through the twisted web of international arms deals that prop up a regime too weak to control its own house. But zoom out, because it isn't just about Mexican mess. It's a flashing red warning light for every red-blooded American who, like you and me, clings to our Bibles and their AR-15s. Remember that? Remember Fast and Furious, the Obama-era ATF debacle, where our feds let thousands of guns walk across the border to track the bad guys, and instead they armed them? Border Patrol Agent Brian Terry was murdered with one of those weapons. Countless others we don't even know. And now, fast forward to today, we're wide open on the southern flank, where we're not now, we were prior to the Trump administration, because of Biden and Harris's border policies turning the Rio Grande into a cartel superhighway, apparently. Fentanyl deaths up 20% last year alone, kids overdosing in school bathrooms. And what do the gun grabbers in D.C. say? We need more gun control. Bad assault weapons. Alan Gottlieb joins me right now because the CCR-KBA put out, I would say, an explosive press release on this as well. Mr. Gottlieb, this is really frightening stuff.
Yeah, Mark, it really, really is. It's really amazing. The Mexican government suing American gun manufacturers when, in fact, they're the ones buying guns to the U.S. government, arming, the cartel in Mexico, and then blaming American gun owners for, lax gun laws for our guns getting across the border into Mexico. When, as you mentioned, 80% of those guns coming from the Mexican government directly. It's just really horrible. And, I don't know what to say, but in our news release from the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep Their Arms, we demanded that no more guns get sold to Mexico until this is all uncovered and we find out exactly what's been going on and how it's been happening. I hate when American gun owners get blamed for the carnage in Mexico when, we know it's not our fault to begin with, but now we have proof that it's actually the Mexican government arming cartels with legally bought guns through the U.S. government, funded by us as taxpayers. This is deplorable.
Alan, what took so long? Now, I would say that's a hypothetical question or maybe a rhetorical question, but it's not, because you and I have had this conversation on air countless times over many, many years, and the Mexican attacks. We've talked about the SCOTUS case and so forth. On many different occasions, but what took so long? Let's take, for example, the Baltimore Sun report, which you referenced in the press release, which was just astonishing, and it was a Cheryl Atkinson report, by the way, who does great work Mexican government bought U.S. guns used in cartel crimes. What took so long for this to get out, even though we knew it?
Well, I'm going to say 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration. That's why it took 4. I mean, there's 4 years of it. Now we have, a new president, a new Justice Department, and, and some of this information is now starting to come out. And Cheryl Atkinson, as a great reporter, was able to get her hands on a lot of it. But there's a lot more that goes obviously a lot deeper than this. And this is just unbelievable, especially when the anti-gunners in Congress use all this to try and push more gun control and gun bans and confiscation here in the United States, rather than when investigating the Mexican government itself.
Well, I'm going to assume, because I have to, and I think we know the truth here. If you ask me to prove it right now, it would be difficult to do, but certainly the circumstantial evidence points in the direction that the American gun banner crews knew this, that, as you just mentioned, which is kind of why I asked the question, but the 4 years of Biden-Harris, they knew about this. They were lying about it. And now they're running on, they used to run on this, et cetera. There's a lot of money involved here. They're raising funds. This just stinks of crime, of criminal activity. When they know this is the case, is anybody going to be held accountable here? I say that, with cynicism and sarcasm, because likely not, but I'm going to ask anyway.
Yeah, likely not. But again, let's remember, it was the gun prohibition lobbying groups that helped the Mexican government file the suits in U.S. courts against U.S. gun manufacturers. So obviously, their hands are dirty as well.
And no one will be held accountable. Well, you let me say this. That's not necessarily true. We're holding them accountable right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know that there would ever be any criminal, who knows. What I can tell you is that the mere fact that we're talking about it, that the Baltimore Sun has it out. Cheryl Atkinson did a great job here. And guys, I want to recommend that you read this at the Baltimore Sun. Again, please do. And I'll have it up on my Twitter feed. I'll do that during the break. So if you want to catch it, you can certainly do that. Mexican governments bought U.S. guns used in cartel crimes. Now, they've got a former federal agent, Alan, who has, quote unquote, flipped the script with what Cheryl refers to as a jaw-dropping twist, by pointing out that many of the U.S. guns used in cartel crimes were actually originally bought by Mexico's own government. And we know how dirty and shady they are and how they wind up. And I was right in my opening remarks that this is just, it's just a flow. It's just a river flow. And the corruption is so rampant. As I said, it flows like tequila down there. But the guy's name was John Dodson. And Alan, we're getting ready to take a break, so I'll take us into the break with this, and we'll let you get the final word, and we'll move on. We have a lot to cover in a short segment with you. But he was told throughout his 15 years as a special agent with the FBI and the ATF, the narrative was, quote, "We are to blame. Our civilian firearms market, our right to bear arms is to blame for the violence in Mexico and along the southwest border." No, not the case, ladies and gentlemen. You knew it. I knew it. Alan knew it. So did the other side. And they continued to lie anyway. We'll be back with Alan. Your mic's up.
And that's what I like to do.
What, fire pit outside? That's, hey guys, you're listening to Greg and I talk here in the background. We're just talking about the weather and how my studio is built solid as a rock. It really, truly is. And we spared no expense in here. But boy, I'll tell you what, the heat cranking in here at this time of year when it's just not steady yet. It gets warm during the day and, a little bit chilly at night. Whew. It's tough on the guitars and the cigar humidor, I can tell you that much, for sure. What's the temperature?
When it gets this time of year, man, it's hard to stand out around the fire pit because some days it's just too damn cold, regardless of how hot the fire is. And that's what I basically did most nights this past week, was stand around my fire pit out in my backyard drinking a beer.
Well, it's like, I guess there could be worse problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to cover with Mr. Gottlieb quickly the media calling Kirk Assassin's gun a sniper rifle, number one. And this Mamdani gun video is unbelievable as well. And Second Amendment Foundation is petitioning Supreme Court to hear the Chicago Transit Authority case, which will be interesting from Alan. We'll see if we can get to that as well. Time flies quickly, though, guys, so hang in with us, okay? Buckle down. It just is what it is. And guys, if you're watching on Twitter or Facebook or any of the other social media, it's easy for us to get to Facebook and Twitter while we're online, while we're on the air. A little bit harder for me to get to the other ones. But if you are in Facebook watching the show, or if you are watching us on Twitter and you have a question for Mr. Gottlieb, or for that matter, any of our guests, please type it away. And we do monitor that while we're live on the air, also on the Telegram messaging chat over there at Armed American Radio Conversations. But if you have a question, we're looking at the Twitter feed and the Facebook feed streams live while we're up. So type away, and we'll see if we can get to it.
15.
10-4. Cam's up. The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, welcome back to the show. National Rifle Association, one of our great partners. Make sure to join us. I say us because I'm a member. You need to be as well. When you hear these conversations that we're having with Mr. Gottlieb and all of our great guests throughout the program today, the National Rifle Association is at the front here, along with all of the other groups, including the Second Amendment Foundation. NRA taking charge in California with us and taking charge in Florida on the 18 to 20-year-old ban. Lots of things going on at NRA and a restructure going on there. We'll talk about that later in the show, or likely in the roundtable, but nonetheless, National Rifle Association getting lean and mean, ladies and gentlemen, and we need your support. It's really simple. NRA.org/AAR, NRA.org/AAR, 1 year, 3 year membership, join or renew, new or renewal. We're going to send you a range bag and a pair of binoculars if you go 5 years or life. So 1 to 3 years, we get the range bag. 5 years to life membership, we're going to send you the 10x42 binoculars. And it's all helping us advance our cause in the face of all these lies that we're telling you about tonight from the other side. It's just remarkable. But the NRA is at the spear with us, okay? NRA.org/AAR. Alan Gottlieb, welcome back. I'll give you the final word on the Mexico gig, and then I want to move on to the sniper rifle and Mamdani's gun video and a couple cases.
Mark, that I'm really glad you covered this story about Mexico because I think it's that important.
Yeah, it's a big one, and it's bigger than we have time for right now, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to come up during the week on the daily broadcast, I can promise you. This story is huge, and it's only going to get huger as the week moves on, to use a play on words. Alan, let's talk about the media calling Kirk Assassin's gun a sniper rifle. Now, this was a bolt-action rifle. We all know that, and you predicted this. We all did, but you knew this was coming, that this is now a sniper rifle. We've got to ban this sniper rifle. Remember, it's all about hunting. Alan, I've got one of these guns. It's a hunting rifle, but now it's a sniper rifle, and they want to take it away.
Yeah, this isn't the first time the media or anti-gun prohibitionists have tried to play this game, so I don't think it'll probably be the last either. But, a single-shot bolt-action rifle is now a high-powered sniper rifle. That came out of a Daily Mail, a British tabloid, their online U.S. publication. And the writer that wrote this, is not a friend of gun owners. I'm shocked to have seen it in the Daily Mail because they've balanced on their reporting. But this one just appalled me. I mean, it's obviously not a sniper rifle, but the bottom line is that the anti-gunners will go anywhere they can to mislabel any kind of firearm to make it sound more evil so they can ban it, confiscate it, prohibit it, whatever it might be.
And I think the word that you used, they'll go as far as they can. Guys, this is not misinformation. This is intentional. It is misinformation, but it is intentional misinformation. It's the way they redefine the narrative. And Mr. Gottlieb knows that probably better than anybody else out there, what the media does to redefine and to take and, as we've always said for years, hijack the English language. And they've done a very good job at it. We've got to give them credit where it's due. And we know that going in. This is why our eyes have to be open, and we have to understand when we hear this terminology that they're lying to you. Violent Mamdani gun video deservedly haunts him. Is it haunting him, Alan? Because this guy looks like he's steamrolling coming up this week into the New York City mayoral position, and it's very scary stuff. But he was caught on camera from an old video. I'll let you tell us about it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't haunt himself personally, but it's haunting him with voters and with the media. He did this violent rap video, with a pistol that, he used in it, a very violent extremist thing. What bothers me with this is the hypocrisy that this is a guy that wants to ban every gun that's in existence, but he'll use one in a violent rap video that he cut himself. And this shows what we're dealing with, what kind of person he is, and how scary he is. And he's going to be, one of the future leaders of the Democratic Party, which is going to take their gun ban prohibition agenda a whole lot further than it is now.
Alan, when we say, as in the press release, when it comes back to hunting, it does when people like us talk about it. And we've got a huge reach here across the country. New York City, you're listening right now. We're not telling you anything you don't already know, particularly up on the island. But honest to goodness, Alan, if it is any other mainstream media covering this at all, or is it just us?
It's made some press in the Washington Free Beacon, and then, believe it or not, Rolling Stone magazine.
Okay.
But aside from that, I've not seen it anywhere else besides in our news release that the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep Arms put out, and now on your show. Yeah,
it's interesting. Rolling Stone. I don't know what stock I take there. I used to love it for the music aspect of it. That was a long time ago. But they also said that my case against OpenAI was likely a setup because I was pro-gun. So I'll take what they say with a grain of salt. Interesting stuff. All right. SAF and its partners have petitioned the U.S. Supreme Court for review in the Schoenthal. Am I pronouncing that right? Is it Schoenthal versus Raoul?
Schoenthal versus Raoul. You got it right. And this is a case that the Second Amendment Foundation brought against a ban on carrying on public transit in the city of Chicago. And now we're headed to the United States Supreme Court. We hope we petition them for cert. Even in Chicago, if you have a firearms owner's ID card and a concealed carry license to lawfully carry a firearm in public, you're prohibited from taking it on public transit. And that's where an awful lot of the violent crime happens in Chicago. It's a target-rich environment for criminals to go after people. And hopefully that ban is going to bite the dust, and hopefully the Supreme Court will take this case.
Yeah, and guys, it's not just and Alan, this has bigger legs too, because it's not just while you're on public transit. You have to drive. A lot of times people drive to get to the stations, right? And in a city like Chicago, wherever they have to go through, whatever neighborhood, it bans them from carrying unless they want to leave their gun in their car. In a city of like Chicago, where now it becomes ripe for theft. I mean, this just stinks all the way around. But here's something that's always bothered me about this. Illinois bans carrying a firearm on, quote, any bus, train, or form of transportation paid for in whole or in part with public funds, and any building, real property, and parking area under the control of a public transportation facility paid for in whole or in part with public funds. So if you're leaving your gun there, ladies and gentlemen, that's a violation as well. What's with the public funds aspect of this, Alan? That's where the Second Amendment should be protecting us more than any place else.
I agree, Mark, but the city is thinking that by saying they're paying for the construction of or maintenance of, that they can get away with it because they're arguing it may be public, but the city of Chicago owns it.
Yeah, and they make no bones about how much they hate your guns. Meanwhile, they do nothing to stop the criminal activity. We'll be covering the murders in Chicago over the last few weekends when we talk with AWR Hawkins coming up in the next half hour. Unbelievable. The Young SCOTUS reply brief. I'm going to turn that one over to you with what time we have left. And Harris, I'll let you tell us about both of those quickly so I don't take much of your time.
Sure. The 18 to 20-year-old ban on purchase of handguns is being challenged. In the case of Brown versus ATF, we filed a reply brief with the U.S. Supreme Court. That's one that the court is going to hopefully give us a decision on that's favorable for us. And then the other case, real quickly, is an amicus brief that we filed challenging the firearm possession ban for marijuana use
case.
to use it. Yeah, the Harris case, who use it for medical marijuana purposes. And that case also is hopefully going to be headed to the U.S. Supreme Court as well. I think they already decided they're going to hear it. We filed an amicus brief in that case. The grants are recorded, so they haven't chosen to hear it yet. Our hope is they will.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will update you on these throughout the week as these move. Alan Gottlieb, founder, Second Amendment Foundation, my friend, thank you so much for everything you do. Ladies and gentlemen, join us, won't you please, at SAF.org. It's Alan and the SAF that are moving your rights, one lawsuit at a time. That's what we do. We'll be back right after this with AWR from Breitbart News. And yet again, another ass-kicking couple segments with Alan Gottlieb. I could keep him for hours and hours. I could have stayed on the Mexico topic with him for 3 hours, ladies and gentlemen. It would have been really easy to do. That is a critically important story, and we will be following that and some of the fallout from Atkinson's report over at the Baltimore Sun. Great work on that, by the way, she did. Go read that, please, at the Baltimore Sun. Stay on top of that one. Not known for being a conservative outlet, and when they pick that up, it's likely that some other mainstream media might as well, so we'll have to keep that alive and see what happens. Guys, we'll be back at you here with AWR in just about 3.5 minutes. Hang tight. AWR Hawkins on the line with us. Coming to you right now.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason on KQAM, Wichita's Big Talker, and you're tuned into the Armed American Radio Network. Now let's get back to the man himself, Mark Walters.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast. Second half of the first hour. I'm gonna warn you now. It always does. It flies right by. And on a weird night with, just after Halloween and just a kind of a weird time change thing going on. Unless you're in Arizona, where AWR comes from, there in Texas, different time zones all over the place around the country. But man, good heavens, if you're in one, I guess there's only one state that doesn't change time, and that's just weird too. The whole thing is weird to me, but it's got us feeling kind of funky tonight. So anyway, buckle in. The time is going to fly right by. It always does. Welcome back to the Kahr Firearms Group studios with us. Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day here in front of the CZ microphone. And of course, it's all being brought to you by the NRA, nra.org/AAR. Visit all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com or .org. We got you covered. That's why we're here all these years. Please support them all. AWR Hawkins, welcome in, my friend. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Good to be with you.
Yeah, well, let's be glad we're not living in Massachusetts right now. I got a lot of listeners in Massachusetts. I mean, Massachusetts is a beautiful state, but your politics are, leave a lot to be desired. And as of right now, you're writing about this just today, actually, Massachusetts lawmakers to weigh bill opening up gun makers to lawsuits. There's a lot of problems with this AWR. We've talked about this many, many times over the years. The PLCAA, Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act, ladies and gentlemen, is what that is. Protects gun manufacturers from frivolous lawsuits because of the actions of criminals. But AWR, the Massachusetts lawmakers just don't care. What are they trying to do here over and above this? What more do they want?
Well, they basically want to make gun manufacturers liable for the criminal misuse of a firearm. But, in all these cases, Mark, no one ever explains this. When a gun manufacturer legally makes a gun and it's legally sold, that includes a background check that the federal government mandates. It's the federal government's background check. So to me, if there's some liability to be placed somewhere, it's with that federal government that runs the background check that literally decides whether a would-be purchaser does or does not purchase a firearm.
Yes. And the way to point this out to those of you who might not be aware of this, the left always likes to say that, and how do they phrase this, AWR? The firearms industry is the only industry where its products are protected from the dangers that they cause. That's not true. If you pick a firearm, any firearm, and it blows up in your hands because of a design malfunction, whatever it may be, can you sue that manufacturer for defective product?
Oh, yeah. You could sue the pants off.
And likely win. That's likely going to settle long before it goes to court.
Yeah, their only protection is for lawfully made and lawfully sold firearms that are not defective, of course. And everybody knows that. The left knows that. But the left is going after firearm manufacturers an opportunity to sue them in the same way they have ineffectively gone against AR-15s for the last 30 years.
All right, you have a disturbing quote in here, and this is the one that I read elsewhere from on the Fall River Reporter has quoted Everytown Policy Council, Elizabeth Ryan, and you did here. And she is dismissing, quoting from you, gun makers' concerns, saying, and here's her quote, basically the argument has always been, well, we're not responsible for the criminal. When somebody else takes a gun and uses it criminally, that has nothing to do with us. And this legislation is saying, no, it does have something to do with you, because if you contribute to getting it there unlawfully, then you can be held responsible for that. Now, you know more than anybody else, and those of you who might be FFLs, dealers, whatever the case may be, or just enthusiasts, as many of you are, you understand where a gun goes and what process it moves through before it's sold at retail. And as you just pointed out, AWR, all of the federal hoops that everybody has to jump through, because these are federal laws. Can I buy a gun without a background check in Massachusetts any different than I can in the state of Georgia?
No. And the same group doing the background check in Massachusetts is doing it in Georgia because it's a federal check.
So what is she, it's hard to get into these people's minds, but what is she trying to convey here? Through what channel process is she trying to say that they're contributing to criminal activity?
She's not. She's making what she's doing. She's intimating. She's making a suggestion that they are with the way, and what she's missing. And no joke, when the getaway driver is driving a Ford, is Ford liable? Because that's certainly a criminal misuse of the vehicle. And if in the getaway they run over a couple of pedestrians, is Ford liable for those homicides if they kill pedestrians? No. I mean, and no one would even imagine, ever dream of Ford being liable, ever dream of it. The only reason this spaghetti sticks to the wall just a little bit is because the left has the deep pockets with Bloomberg and everyone else, especially Everytown. And so they can keep putting out a stupid message, an illogical message, and they have the money to do it. They can do it every day as many times as they want. That's the only reason the spaghetti sticks just a little bit.
And I think a great example of this, A-Dubs, is something that we've talked about in the past. You remember when the killer in the vehicle went down Bourbon Street?
Yes.
Ran over, 12, 14 people, killed 3 or 4, then got out with a firearm. Was Everytown for Gun Safety going after the manufacturer of the automobile or just the rifle? Because they were calling for banning all the guns, but they never say anything about the vehicle that was used to do more damage than the gun because he was offed by law enforcement.
Right. Well, you could do the same thing. This is going back a little further, but 2014, the Santa Barbara killer, he killed 3 with a gun, 3 with a knife. I remember all the gun control groups lining up. They would say, he killed 6 people. They didn't say how he killed them, just that he killed 6. Well, he did do that, but 3 of them were with a knife. So why did they push gun control but not knife control? And it's the same point you're making. These people, they're limited in their thought ability and thought process. Number one, they're mouth breathers, but number 2, they are paid to be ideologues and to stay on point, and that's what they do.
Yeah, and they're good at it, and they're very well funded. And they don't. The problem here is they don't get a challenge from the mainstream media. The media doesn't ask the question we're asking right now. You're not going to see ABC and NBC, so we can all CBS or CNN, LOL, say, well, wait a minute here. More people were killed with the knife. More people were killed with the vehicle that he chose to use illegally as a weapon. They don't question them, and when they don't question them, they're able to stay on point and reach that limited mindset, that lowest common denominator that says, we're going to ban the guns. Ladies and gentlemen, the bodies aren't even picked up, and they're screaming for your AR-15 when it was a pistol that was used. We see this time after time after time. Yet again, it's a narrative that's being formed. I think people are getting on to this, AWR, more so now than before because of shows like this, because of the work that you do that reaches so many millions of people. Do you get a sense that people are catching on to this?
Well, I think they are to a large degree. This week on Twitter, I made fun of Gifford's gun control group. Gifford's is the name of it. And, they were talking about the quote-unquote mass shooting last weekend at a North Carolina party. There was no mass shooting. Police said there were 2 groups of people that got in a fight and started shooting at each other. That's not a mass shooting. And what happens is when Giffords makes these claims, it falls on deaf ears because once everything is a mass shooting, nothing's a mass shooting. Doesn't matter anymore. Doesn't have meaning. So they've done us a big favor in that way. I love it. I really do. I'm not even kidding. Tomorrow, I hope they report that there have been 14.6 million mass shootings in the U.S. this year. I hope they do, because people will yawn and go, okay, no sugar with my coffee. I'll just take it black today, and yes, waffle. Thank you. No one cares, because they have sucked all the meaning out of it.
They've cried wolf for so long in this. Now, I guess there's a new crop of morons coming up behind the old crop of morons that they're trying to reach. Again, that's why I point out the lowest common denominator. When we come back, I want to focus a little bit on John Cornyn. You have a piece out, Second Amendment Voices rally against Senator John Cornyn over his support for Biden gun control law. You're not going to believe what he had to say about this. AWR will tell us. Don't go away. We'll be right back. One more segment with AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News. Guys, coming back to you here in, I think, less than a minute.
Yeah, we're about 35.
There we go.
And 30.
Bring the camera back up. Welcome back, guys. One more segment with AWR Hawkins, and we've got a great hour with Russell Stuart from Beverly Hills Guns coming up. He's got a new book coming out that is, well, I read the excerpts that I have from it today, about 34 pages of it. It's phenomenal. Wait till you hear this. And he's in the belly of the beast, too, in California, believe me.
This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. And Attorneys on Retainer is the most no-brainer sponsorship we've ever had here at Armed American Radio. And I mean that. I have my card here in my hand. My son is a member. My daughter's a member. My wife is a member. And and I'm a member, of course, and if you carry a firearm, you already know bad things can happen. Attorneys on Retainer are there to support you with a complete, full legal team. If, God forbid, you have to use a gun, wind up investigated, or worse, being charged. We had Joey on the program a couple weeks back who told us exactly what occurs, and they're there for you. And part of this program now, you won't just have one lawyer. You'll have yours in your state, and you'll have theirs that work with you in all 50 states, ladies and gentlemen, but you'll have a team of attorneys, up to 4 lawyers on your case. $35 a month. Do I have to tell you how much a good attorney is per hour? A hell of a lot more than that. Okay? So please get off the fence and put this card in your wallet and have a team of attorneys behind you. Also, Greg, real quick before we go back to AWR, you're wearing your MyPillow slippers today, you said during the break.
Yeah, that's correct. It's that time of year.
It is that time of year. And guys, I want to tell you something. Mike Lindell's been with us for many, many, many years. He has spent his personal fortune defending your rights and the integrity of elections, and he needs your help. It's a great time of year to be pushing those slippers and everything else. Support Mike for supporting this program, Your Right to Bear Arms, and a patriot that he is. He's been beat up like crazy. Help him out. It's real simple. Get a great product from MyPillow.com. Slippers are perfect for this time of year. MyPillow.com/AAR. Take advantage of all the great deals over there and support the man who put so much on the line for you. AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News. Welcome back, brother. Let's talk about Cornyn. This is, wow. You know, Greg in Texas, man, you got to deal with Cornyn. But A-Dub's Second Amendment voices rally against Senator John Cornyn over his support for Biden gun control law. He flat out supported this, the bipartisan gun control bill, and it was bipartisan in large measure because of Cornyn. Yeah, he's backtracking now. What's up with this?
Oh yeah, well, Cornyn, he's been doing it. Yeah, he was in a exchange on X with Texas Gun Rights, which is one of the greatest gun rights groups at the state level that ever existed.
Yeah, you know them well.
And they cornered him on it and asked him, you know, basically, are you claiming that, you know, do you not remember blank, blank, blank? And they're talking about him supporting the gun control. And he said that he didn't. No, I don't remember that. And
good heavens.
And that's a very convenient, you know, it's like Hillary. Well, I don't recall. I mean, who wants a Hillary for a senator in Texas? That's what you get with Cornyn. You get a Hillary Clinton. And Cornyn was handpicked by Mitch McConnell, handpicked in late May of 2022 to work with the Democrats in fashion gun control. And he succeeded. And with the Democrats, he fashioned the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. And although it was somewhat inept, it was the first major gun control in a few decades to pass. And Biden signed it. And after Biden signed it, Biden thanked Cornyn by name. I covered all this at Breitbart.
Yeah, we covered it here.
Making it up. Thanked him by name. And I'm just telling you, John Cornyn cannot, unless you're in a habit, unless you've got a chicken house and you keep coyotes and a couple of wolves in it, and that's what you're used to, then you're nuts to vote for Cornyn, because that's the same thing you're doing with your guns. You're opening up your gun rights and your freedoms to a man who will sell you out in a heartbeat, he's already done it. And he has no conviction in that way.
Well, it's, to me, when I look at this, the first thought that went through my head as I analyzed this in my head, to form some opinions, to want to talk about this, he has zero plausible deniability here at all, because he was, in fact, handpicked. He did work on this. We covered this at great length when this was occurring a couple years back. So I don't even see where he has any plausible deniability. Is it just that he got caught and he can say, does he think we're stupid that we don't remember?
I think he is so old that he thinks he maybe hasn't caught up with the times. He doesn't know the internet lives forever. And I also think he doesn't know what we know, or he doesn't know that we know what we know. But, you know, I covered at Breitbart. He was handpicked in late May to work with the Democrats. I believe, and I covered at Breitbart, that in large part he was picked because in April, a month before he was picked, he was already working with Chris Murphy on possible gun controls, trying to find gun controls where there might be common ground. I covered this at Breitbart. Mm-hmm. I'm not making it up. And so this guy's a joke in my mind. Texas is a better state than Cornyn is a senator. I'll put it that way. Texas is a pro-gun state. Cornyn is a, hold on a minute, let me put my finger in the air, see which way the wind's blowing, kind of senator. And if the wind, he believes, is blowing in a way that gun control will help him poll-wise, he's gonna pull the rug out from under you, gun owners, every time. You cannot trust John Cornyn.
Yeah, I think that's the overlying or overriding, overarching, if you will, fact is that you can't trust a man that did what he did and then all of a sudden can't remember or doesn't recall. And he's a senator. Okay? Yeah, all right. Time's going to get away from us. 2 sheriffs and numerous officers indicted for allegedly helping traffickers run drugs in Mississippi. This is always a very disturbing thing to cover when you've got bad cops. And ladies and gentlemen, we've said for years on the program, there are bad judges. There are bad people of all walks of life in jail. There are bad cops, bad judges, bad lawyers, bad accountants, bad doctors, bad nurses, bad neighbors, bad mechanics, bad McDonald's employees, fast food employees. There's bad people everywhere. But when it's cops, it really hits home. What happened in Mississippi real quick?
There was about 20 people, and I believe 14 to 16 of them were law enforcement, and they were taking bribes to help the cartel move drugs. And so this is in the Mississippi Delta and the Memphis, Tennessee area, and one of the runs, I believe, was all the way to Miami, Florida. So, yeah, it's not good. You have no idea how much money the cartel might have thrown at them. I'm not saying, give them a break. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying these might be people who were otherwise upstanding and flawless in character, and they gave in because of the money opportunity. Now, I don't know any of that. I'm giving my opinion is all I'm doing, but that's my opinion.
Well, I think it's probably based in some educated guesses and some facts here. You know, you take somebody that's not making a lot of money and, you know, you throw high 6 figures or even 7 figures. These cartels have more money than God. All right? This is like big tech money, billions and billions and billions of dollars, and throwing $1 million here, $1 million there. Yeah, it's not giving anybody a pass here, because when this is law enforcement, ladies and gentlemen, this is always really, really bad. Let's close out real fast with a happy ending story. Alleged intruder dead after home occupant opened fires in Jackson, Mississippi, of all places. Home intruder was fatally wounded on Monday when an occupant of the residence opened fire, shooting him numerous times. This is a happy ending story, ladies and gentlemen. Take us to the music, brother.
I mean, that's it. The guy forced his way into the home, and so he got that lead lunch. You know, that lead lunch, sometimes they serve it with ketchup, sometimes they serve it with mayo on a bun. I don't know how this one was served, but I do know that they sent a message to his mom, don't worry about keeping dinner warm. Roscoe won't be home to eat. I will tell his mom, if she's listening, I'll eat it. Especially if it's a steak. I like mine medium rare.
And pancakes. I know you like pancakes in the morning as well. So there you go, Mom. Guys, we don't celebrate someone's death. We celebrate the life of someone who used a firearm defensively to save their own from a criminal scumbag who earned every pull of the trigger because of his or her actions. That is a happy ending story. AWR Hawkins Breitbart News. God bless you. We love you. Russell Stewart, Beverly Hills Guns, next, 6 minutes after. Don't go away. Guys, I'm not sure how I knew AWR was going to say something about lunch or dinner in that conversation. It could be, well, maybe because he has said it countless times before. Love it. It's a happy ending story, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good way to close out that hour. I hope you enjoyed the hour as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. We're going to take a quick top of the hour break for our network breaks, top of the hour for the stations across the country. We'll be back at 6 minutes after the hour live. Probably be here with you a few minutes prior to that as well. So stick around. If you are watching or listening on all of our social media, please like and share and start a conversation in there. We would appreciate your help in getting our social media back up to where it needs to be. We are making some great progress there. If you're on Facebook, yeah, like us over there. Follow us over there. Help us get back up to 100,000. We were up at about 115 or 120 before they started purging us because they didn't like our topics of conversation. And then, well, honestly, they've been pretty good lately on a number of different fronts. So help us get it back. Follow us on our social media. Follow us at Twitter at AAR Mark. Make sure to follow us over at YouTube, Rumble, and all the outlets that you can find us. Or you can tune into us at armedamericanradio.com or .org. You can listen or watch there. Just don't watch while you're driving. Please don't be that person. That's a bonehead. Don't be that bonehead. Be smart about it. You can always listen. That's what the Bluetooth is for. And we appreciate you doing that. And while you're at it, please visit our partners. Pick something up from Mike Lindell. Pick up some Barrel Buddies. Pick up a new holster. Bud's Gun Shop, our exclusive online retailer. I got enough ammo. No, you don't. Just buy. Maybe you do, and that's cool if you do. I don't know how you can say that, but if you feel you, just buy one more box and support our partners. Very, very, very important stuff. Join the National Rifle Association. Put the attorneys on retainer card in your wallet. We'll be back in just a few moments for you, 6 minutes after live with Russell Stewart, the founder of Beverly Hills Guns, and he's got a great book coming out. You're going to love this conversation. Be right back with you guys. How many of you out there caught some of the Dodgers-Toronto game last night? Just curious if you did. Raise your hands. I can't see you, but we're raising our hands here. You caught some of it, Greg?
Yeah, I saw a couple of highlight reels.
I've loved baseball since I was a kid. Got a little bit fired up at them when some of the stuff went woke, but for the most part, Major League Baseball pretty much held their ground. I was happy about that. NASCAR went full left on me. I hated that. Good heavens. Well, I'm not even going to go there. I still love racing. But I start really getting into baseball come after June, latter half of the season when you start really making that playoff run. That had to be, last night's Game 7, had to be, if not the best World Series game I've ever seen.
It looked pretty good.
Oh, man. I mean, it
saw
had
some
it
good
all.
highlights.
It had it all. I mean, I used to enjoy watching our friend Curt Schilling pitch back in the day, and he's got 3 rings, Philly, Arizona, and Boston. And I remember watching the Bloody Sock game, and then Curt and I became very good friends years later. I had an opportunity to talk with him about that. And watching that game last night was, that was a good one. That was a good one. That was a great series all the way around. It was. I did think Toronto was going to pull that out. And then you had that 9th inning. Miguel hit that 9th inning home run, tied it up for Dodgers. I went, ruh-roh. Because I had no skin in that game. I don't own either of the team. I just like watching baseball. It didn't really matter to me who won the game. I would have liked to have seen Toronto beat the Dodgers. But no go. A hell of a game, though. It had it all. Everything you'd want to see, it had. Just my 2 cents worth.
Russell Stuart on hold.
Roger that. All right, I'm going to open up reading this excerpt from his book. If you would let him know that, it might run me about 5 minutes, okay. But we've got him for the full hour, so this is a perfect intro.
All right. Okay.
Roger that.
All right, he's fine with that.
Good deal. All right, guys, here's a grilling tip of the day. By the way, Christmas is coming up. Grilling While Armed, written with my partner and co-author, George the Mad Ogre Hill. You can find it at Amazon. Makes a great Christmas gift. And I got to find a way to get you guys some signed copies, so stick with me. We're going to try to do that for Christmas. And what's likely going to happen is I'm going to wind up buying a couple cases of books and make them available to you online, signed. So stay with us on that. But they make great gifts. You can pick them up at Amazon.com. Guys, I did my daughter just turned 23 today, and I grilled 8 steaks, but I did something different with the twice-baked potatoes. Greg, I was telling you that at the top of the first hour during the break. I threw it down on the flat top, a little bit of oil, cut those potatoes in half so you had skin on both sides, and smashed them like they were burgers. Fried them on both sides real quick, laid the steak on top of that. Oh, good heavens. Whew. We got a full tummy in the studio today, that's for sure. Good stuff.
$30.
Was that the 30 mark?
Yep.
Okay.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Kahr Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center. Proudly presented to you by the National Rifle Association. National Rifle Association. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Hour 2 of Armed American Radio's Monster Cast is now underway. If you are just joining the program, welcome aboard. If you are rejoining, welcome back. We are coming to you live on hundreds of radio stations across the nation from coast to coast and a lot of countries as well. Big show, the big show today, and we love it. We love doing this. I'd rather be doing nothing else than this, sitting here with you on a Sunday. I love doing this with you now 17 years running, and we have never missed a Sunday broadcast in all of those 17 years. So multiply the number of weeks in a year by 17 years up to this point, and you get a pretty big number. And we're very, very proud of that. It's a remarkable accomplishment. And thank you for keeping us here for all of these years. We appreciate it very much. You're inside the Kahr Firearms Group studios with me. This is the CZ microphone lit up for you here at the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. And it's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Greg in Dallas, Texas. We are live on Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. You can watch us there, or if you are driving, please just listen to the volume. Don't watch us. Don't be that bonehead, please. Greg, I'll let you tell everybody where else they can watch us and all that fun stuff. Get involved in the chat. I got one quick public service announcement to make, a thank you, and then we'll get going with our intro here for our guest, Russell Stuart.
Yeah, sure. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. Over on X, we're at AAR Mark. You can head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com, hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. And lastly, to join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yeah, guys, if you are a subscriber to the Epoch Times, great newspaper. Greg, that's the only newspaper I get in print every week.
It's a good one.
And I love it. It's good. You know, it comes out in a week. You've seen most of the news, but the opinion pieces you don't. And it's great stuff. Plus, I love doing the word jumbles. Been loving doing those since I was a kid. And they actually have those in the last page of the opinion section. So my wife and I do those all the time. See who can get the words out first and jumble up all the letters. But I want to thank Michael Clements over there, reporter, who was here at Armed American Radio Ranch 2 Saturdays ago. And he, photographer, sat here in the studio with me for a number of hours. And he put a great piece out, a feature story on me in the lawsuit against OpenAI. And it was titled, he was the first to sue he was the first to sue AI for defamation. The result is a cautionary tale. You can read that over at Epoch Times online. It might be behind a paywall right now. It was a premium piece, but I believe it's also going in the print edition because it's gotten some really good reviews. So make sure to check it out. And Michael Clements and the Epoch Times, thank you. Really big shout out to you guys. It was a great story and a great piece, and we appreciate that very much. Guys, our next guest, Russell Stuart, we'll go to him in just a second. I want to read part of this for you. He knows we're getting ready to do this, but it's a great setup because he has a book out, or will have a book out. I'll let him tell us about it, called Reclaiming Men. Reclaiming Men, What Happened to America's Boys and How We Fix It, by Russell Stuart. So let me read you just a little part of this, and then we'll get cracking with him because we've got him for the full hour. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. G. Michael Hoff, that's the quote at the beginning of the book. This book exists because of people I'll never meet. To the fathers sitting alone at kitchen tables at 2 a.m. wondering if they're failing their sons. You're not. You're the last line of defense. Keep fighting. To the mothers raising boys without a roadmap, terrified the world will destroy them before you can armor them. You see what's happening. Trust your instincts. Your sons need you to be ferocious. To the single moms doing the work of 2 parents because the father walked away, you're building men in impossible conditions. That makes you a warrior. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. To the young men reading this who feel completely lost, good. Lost means you're looking. That's more than most are willing to do. You're not broken. You're not the problem. You're the solution. But you have to choose it. To the teachers who still believe boys need structure, competition, and standards, not medication and apologies, you're fighting a rigged system. Keep teaching. We need you. To the coaches who refuse to hand out participation trophies and still make kids earn respect, you're doing God's work. Boys don't need more friends. They need men who demand excellence. To the first responders, the tradesmen, the veterans, the blue-collar guys who still believe work matters, you're proof. This isn't theory. You're living it. You're the standard. To the neighbors who step in when fathers fail, the grandfathers who teach boys how to use their hands, the mentors who show up when no one else will. You're the invisible army rebuilding manhood one kid at a time. You won't get credit. Do it anyway. To the strangers on the internet who shared their stories, their scars, their failures, your honesty made this book real. Men don't heal in silence. Thank you for speaking up. To the men who told me to make this book harder, not softer, to stop apologizing and start swinging, you were right. The world doesn't need another polite conversation. It needs a wake-up call. And to the young men reading this right now, the one everyone has written off, the one who's been told he's toxic, dangerous, unnecessary, listen carefully. They lied to you. You are not the problem. Masculinity is not the disease. Strength is not oppression. Your instinct to protect, to build, to lead, and that's not something you apologize for. That's what the world needs most. This book is your permission to stop pretending you're something you're not. Reclaim who you are. Reject the lies. Rebuild what they tore down. This fight isn't over. It's just beginning, and you're not alone. Russell Stuart, powerful stuff, brother. Let's talk about it. Great work.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate you having me on, and thanks for reading that out loud. I was actually in chills just hearing you say it.
Well, it's your words, and I got to be honest with you. When I read this, it almost brought a tear to my eye, brother, because it's so true. And, you know, we can put all this back into Second Amendment deals. Guns are bad. You can't have guns. You don't need a gun to be a man. A gun doesn't make your manhood any bigger. All this nonsense we hear from the left. No. You put this in perspective. You talk about the lost generation of boys, that something is wrong with young men in America. And anyone who is paying attention, as you point out, can see that. What was the impetus for this? Because you're just, and we'll get into this with you, because you're actually on the school board in a very liberal place in Beverly Hills, fighting a big fight. What was the impetus for this? What sparked you to want to put this down?
Gosh, I mean, that list is so long. It's tremendous. I think, honestly, when I was elected onto the school board and I really got to see the youth of our city and how they interact with each other, what they're learning, you know, all the building blocks that I look back at my childhood and look at what is not being done now and how lost a lot of these kids are. And one of the biggest things that I've heard is really these kids don't know what it's like to be a man. They don't even know what the concept is to be a man. When you have, and not to, you know, to disparage anyone, but you know, when you have the Andrew Tates of the world and you have these like online bro types who are telling you, you know, women should be, you know, called bitches and it's all about money and Lambos and all this other stuff. And then you've got the far left saying, no, it needs to be about emotion and feelings and you know, change your gender and be fluid and yada, yada, yada. It's like no one knows what it's just like to get up, have a black cup of coffee, go to work on time, get the job done. Don't be loud. Have a family. Be a mentor. You know, fix your own car. Change your own oil. Fix your buddy's, you know, deck. You know, all of the normal things that we grew up with as Americans and just being men has been deleted. And I've been studying that now for years, and this book is just a culmination of not only my observations, but my frustrations and my fears. And there's a whole section in this book, which I'll get to you next week, on my daughter and how this mission to rebuild men and reclaim men is for my daughter's future. Because I do not want my daughter growing up in a world where men are considered toxic, because then they're going to become toxic.
Or weak.
I need her to have a great man.
Yeah, and a weak man is not doing your daughter any good. I've got a beautiful daughter, just turned 23 today. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this. Okay? Weak men are not the answers to your daughters. Your daughters need, want, and crave strong, real men. Now, the left doesn't want you to believe that. I know we're getting ready to take a break. Greg, what's my time here? Because I want to read another excerpt, but I don't want to cut into it here.
40
seconds. Okay, so I'll read another excerpt when we come back about the message and the consequences that you talk about. The consequences that you refer to in this, Russell, are incredible. This is very well written. I cannot wait to get my signed copy. There's my deal. But I do have to say this before the break. I don't drink my coffee black. What does that make me? I like my coffee with cream and sugar in it. And I got to be honest with you. I have ordered before. Yeah, I'll have the latte with the, double whatever it is, the triple shot latte, and I'll have whip on it. I hope that doesn't make me a wimp. But I don't get that often. But I do like black coffee when necessary. Russell Stuart, founder, Beverly Hills Guns. When we come back, another excerpt from this book, and we'll get some more explanation from Russell, because this is very powerfully written stuff and something that the world needs right now, particularly here in the United States of America. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. And on this Sunday Monstercast, we're here in the Kahr Firearms Group studios on this CZ Powerful and Platinum microphone, all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. So make sure to join, ladies and gentlemen. We need your help. We need your support at the NRA. The NRA is going through a restructure, all for the right reasons. It is the NRA doing exactly what they should be doing, and it is so good and refreshing to see the NRA get back to its roots. Good heavens, it's a beautiful thing, and we need your support to keep it happening. And many, many, many thousands of you have joined, and we appreciate that so much. Please join at nra.org/AAR. We're going to send you the free range bag for a 1-year or 3-year membership, new or renewal, doesn't matter. And a 5-year or life, we're going to send you the binoculars, and you can find it all right there at nra.org/AAR. Please take advantage of that. And while you're there, at armedamericanradio.com, you can visit all of our great partners, including budsgunshop.com. They've got everything you need and everything you want. They have it there. Need some more ammo? Just buy a box. Support the industry. Right now, we'll talk more about this with Russell, too. But the industry is way down right now, and we need your support. We need you out there helping those businesses and those businesses that support this voice on the airwaves. It's very, very critical. The NRA's got your back in states across the country. Support them, please. nra.org/AAR. Russell Stuart, welcome back in, brother. It's great to have you here. Thanks for being here. We do appreciate it much.
Oh, man, thank you so much for having me.
Well, I want to read another quote here. Because, you know, and this gets a little bit heavy, but let's go here. For decades, we've been told that men are the root of violence, war, and oppression. Every generation has its slogans such as toxic masculinity, male privilege, and patriarchy. But the message underneath is always the same. Men are the problem. That message has consequences. It's no coincidence, ladies and gentlemen, that suicide among young men is at record highs. CDC data shows male suicide rates are nearly 4 times higher than females. That more women than men are graduating college. Currently, 58% of bachelor's degrees go to women. That testosterone levels have dropped by nearly 20% in the last generation, or that fewer men are marrying, having children, or joining the workforce. Prime age male labor force participation has dropped from 98% in the 50s to 89% today. And we see the implication of that, Russell. Great that you pointed that out. And as you continue, let me put that in perspective. Your grandfather's generation had higher testosterone levels, fought in wars, built the suburbs, and raised families on a single income. You're struggling to move out of your parents' house. These aren't isolated stats. They're warning lights on the dashboard of a dying engine. When a society convinces its men that they're expendable, the society collapses. We've replaced courage with compliance, conviction with apology, and leadership with silence. We've built classrooms that punish risk-taking, workplaces that reward inoffensiveness, and media that portrays fathers as fools. And you point a great point. Turn on any sitcom and watch dad struggle to operate the washing machine while his 10-year-old explains it to him. Hilarious, right? Except guess what? Your kids are watching and learning that you're pretty much incompetent, Russell. This is not what we need right now. Not what we need in this country. We need strength and real men. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I literally was just watching a show with my daughter just a few hours ago, and the dad was literally just this bumbling idiot who couldn't do anything right, and the mother was just on his case all the time, and then the kids were just like, oh, that's just dad. He's stupid. It is shocking how we went from just 2 generations ago where you revered your father. You even feared your father.
Yeah,
but
right.
You knew that he was the man that would get it done. He was the man that you ran to for strength, for when you needed a shoulder to cry on, or even someone to go beat up Tommy Johnson at the end of the street. You know, now it's about the absolute degradation of men and laughing at their weakness. And that is, again, one of the biggest things that I was so keen to write this book, was not only to point these things out, but to shake people and to say, what did we do? Where are we now?
Yeah, how did we get here?
I mean, how did we get here?
Well, there's an answer to that. Well, there's an answer to that. Let's discuss that. But I want to preface it with this. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask each of you a question. Listener, and think about this, and most of you, I believe, probably 99 out of 100 will respond with the word father. But who taught you to shoot when you were kids? Likely your father, Russell. And
absolutely.
When you ask that question, how do we get here? There's so much involved. But I've pointed the blame at us in large part over the years. Okay? Grew up very conservative. Gun owner, love my rights, everything else. Fight for them every single day, 6 days a week on the radio. But you know what? I continued to watch their boneheaded garbage movies. I continued to buy some of their crappy music. I continued to pay attention to this stuff. And while we were doing some of that, laughing it off, it's woke, but it's funny. You know, we can pick movies, pick certain actors. You look at a guy like Robert De Niro and all this nonsense. Guy's lost his marbles. Many of them have, as you well know, in California, particularly Beverly Hills. You know a lot of these folks personally.
Yes, sir.
But the media has made it easier for people to lose sight of what is actually happening, because people are bombarded by what they hear all day. And this is, again, how they form narratives and everything, something we've talked about for years. So there's a part of us that has to take some responsibility here too, Russell. We continued to buy these things. We continued to send our kids to these woke colleges. We knew they were being indoctrinated. We all thought to ourselves, that won't happen to my kid. Well, I've got a family whose kid it happened to. It's not even welcome for Thanksgiving meal anymore, for crying out loud. You know, this is a mess we're in right now. And don't we bear some responsibility, Russell, if we're being really honest with ourselves?
I think we bear all of the responsibility. The problem is the system. You know, there's a difficult time fighting the system. If you live in a specific geographical area, you have to send your kids to public school. If you do not have the income, you're not going to send them to a private school. So you have to send them to a public school. Conservatives, and I know this now sitting on the Beverly Hills Unified School District Board of Education, conservatives don't come down to school board meetings and yell and scream and get their way. Conservatives are conservative. That's a part of the whole being.
Do they even show up? Do they even show up where you are?
Zero. No.
Okay.
Zero.
All right. Well, therein lies part of the problem.
Are the left-wing lunatics who scream and yell and want as many LGBTQ flags on the wall and gender fluidness and no boys and girls and boys sports or boys and girls sports. Sorry, and you know, in fact, one parent even just came up to me last week saying that they want to ban football because football is toxic for men because it teaches them how to be violent. But they're going to come to the board meeting and they're going to yell, scream, and and throw a chair. And then typically boards across the country then don't want to deal with that, so they just say, "Fine, we'll give you an inch." But then they see that inch as a major victory, and then others go, "Oh, hey, well then I want to get my inch," and then that inch now becomes a foot, and then becomes a yard, and then becomes the entire freaking field.
Yeah, all of a sudden we look back. Let me take us to the break here, because all of a sudden we look back over our shoulders and we go, good heavens, what just happened? And you look back and realize this has occurred over the course of many, many years. And I want to talk about violence when we come back. This question I'll throw at you. Is violence ever necessary? Sometimes violence is necessary, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk about it with Russell Stuart when we come back, founder of Beverly Hills Guns. And we'll talk about the book as well, and the title. We'll give you all that again in just a few minutes, right back after the break. All right, guys, welcome back. 30 seconds, a little bit less. 2 more segments with Russell Stewart. The book is phenomenal. We'll tell you about it. He'll tell you where you can get it and all that fun stuff, when. All the stuff you need to know. He's going to do really well with this, I think. All right, back at you, guys.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher wanting to let you know that the crew of the Desperado Sport Fish in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
Yeah, we love the crew over at the Desperado Sport Fish, guys. They've been they've had a rejoin in here with us for years. Great friends of ours over many, 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 many years. Known them for close to 30-some plus years. Great folks over there, and we appreciate their support for the program. We appreciate Mike Gallagher for the rejoin and everything else. And we appreciate all of our partners, ladies and gentlemen. We couldn't do it without them. You're in the Kahr Firearms Group studios. The new X9 I have, phenomenal. I got a ported one coming. Can't wait to get that. We'll talk about that when it shows up. Should be here within a couple weeks. I'm excited. Like Christmas early. Got to love that when a new gun is showing up for you. And also the Patriot Mobile Command Center, guys. This is a Patriot Mobile activated phone. If you're watching on your devices, you can have one too. It's real simple. PatriotMobile.com/AAR. And we're going to give you a free month. And if you owe money on your phones, no big deal. Up to $500, they're going to give you a credit. So if you move 4 phones over, $2,000 credit. You're not going to pay a phone bill for a while. Plus, you're going to get the first month free. So activate a phone. Move one over. You can do it piecemeal. You don't have to do them all, but it's great for your businesses and everything else. Support the businesses that support you. They use your money to back you up and support your gun rights. Patriot Mobile, nobody does it like they do. You hear them on the Daily Defense every other Thursday. They're great. PatriotMobile.com/AAR, and take advantage of all these great deals. Pick up some Heaven's Harvest food, shop at Bud's Gun Shop, pick up a Crossbreed holster, and on down the list. You can find them all at ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Russell Stewart, welcome back in, brother.
Thanks, man.
All right, what's the name of the book? And tell people where they can get it, when they can get it, and all that fun stuff.
It's called Reclaiming Men. You'll be able to get it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble on November 14th. And that'll be for paperback purchase and for Kindle and all ebooks for your favorite device.
Russell, is violence ever necessary? I'm going to say right up front, yeah, it is. Sometimes violence is necessary. Let's talk a little bit about that, right? People don't like to cover this, but we're going to. Let's go there. Take it away.
Well, I mean, if you're not capable of violence, and this is a great subject that was heard, very, very, very heavily by Jordan Peterson and was brought up.
Hey, Russell, let me stop you real quick. Can you find a place there where we're getting you a little break up on the phone, and I want people to hear every word?
Yeah, give me 5 seconds. I'm gonna move here real quick and see if I can get you a better signal. But how's that?
Yeah, you sound good. So is violence
Okay.
ever necessary? Go ahead.
Yes, I mean, absolutely. I really love how Jordan Peterson had covered this topic, saying, do men have to be violent? Absolutely, but they need to be able to control it, because there's no virtue in being weak. There's virtue in being strong and potentially violent, but you know how to control it. And that is where we have weak men who are becoming violent because they don't understand that violence is a part of being strong. It is the ability of violence, but we understand what it does. Now we have these kids that are medicated, confused, they're being taught all the wrong things, and then they're turning into school shooters, and they're turning into bullies, and they're turning into rapists, and they're turning into horrible human beings. So, and then the left takes that and says, see, masculinity is violence. These kids are not masculine. They don't understand what masculinity is. Masculinity is the competence in violence. It is not in the action of violence. And this is where it differs so much. And this is where the mental health of young men has been completely thrown down the toilet. And they're shown violence thinking that just pulling out a knife or a gun and being violent is being a man. The actual structure the calmness, the centeredness of knowing I can be violent, but knowing that I don't need to, is what manliness actually is.
And sometimes it's the way we portray that to others. Don't mess with my daughter or I will get violent. Do not think of coming in my home or you will meet violence. Do not think of taking my car or my livelihood. If you enter my business and try to rob me, I will get violent. And in every single one of those instances, ladies and gentlemen, violence is actually rewarded. Because you've saved yourself, your children, or your family. The law understands that sometimes violence is necessary. Let me quote Grady Judd from Polk County. We love our Second Amendment in Polk County, Grady Judd once said famously. And if you come in somebody's house, that person is armed and they're going to turn you into a piece of Swiss cheese.
And to turn that into modern day speak, it's called F around and find out.
Yeah, thank you for being FCC friendly on that too. But we've all seen the acronym, right? We've all seen it. FAFO. We know what it means. And other people need to understand that. Hey, I'm not going to mess with that cat over there or that girl or that young kid over there because looks like dad's over there. And Russell, I think you're aware of what happened to my daughter when she was accosted verbally by that scumbag, lunatic, leftist wimp who picked on two young girls in a Chipotle when my daughter was having dinner a few weeks back. And because she was wearing a Trump shirt. You remember that. She was wearing a Trump shirt. He would have never done that if Dad was there. Why? Because Dad would have likely gotten violent. And he would have known that. Mm-hmm. And that's where violence actually works to your advantage, ladies and gentlemen. When your enemies fear you, they tend to stay put, Russell, at least for the most part. If not, they're going to meet it head on.
Absolutely. And that's basically my point, is that we have lost the imagery of violence. I need to know that when I see that dad or I see that dude at the end of the block who is just portraying masculinity, and not fake masculinity of some bro gym guy with the tattoos and blah, 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 blah. Not, no offense to guys with tattoos. Just there's an image of, of stoicism, of that dad, of that dude at the end of the block that is like, you know what? I don't want to fight that guy because he'd kick my ass, but I'd sure love to have a beer with him. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of imagery. It's that kind of energy that we used to have, and we need to get that back.
When is weakness in a man ever a good thing? Ever.
Never. It should never exist.
You have to be able to
portray men is how we got here now. Weakness in men is how we have white men for Harris shirts all throughout Los Angeles.
I wish we had another 3 hours with you on this, because as I'm listening to you talk, there's so many different avenues we could go down. For example, violence, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't have to be always physical, okay? It can also be intellectual, all right? To stand up for what you believe in a debate. And let me go back to these board meetings that you have. Not one conservative shows up at these things. You know why they don't? Because where you live, they know they're outnumbered. Why bother? I send my kid here. I don't send them there. I'm not going to bother with it. You know what has to happen? Even if the dads that don't send their kids to those schools would speak up because they're paying taxes for them anyway, ought to be out there using intellectual strength.
And for what I do for a living, I use his joke all the time. I tell people that your comments don't have to be California compliant. Come down to the board meetings and
glad I had my mic muted. I almost choked up on my sugar-free Red Bull there. Oh, good heavens! If you're watching me, it is a pink can. Give me a break. It's a flavored wild berry. So I apologize. That was not lost on me, but I almost choked that up there. No, you are absolutely correct about this. This is a fascinating topic, and people don't like to hear what we were just talking about as far as violence. We're not talking about going out. We're talking about somebody who understands that if they jerk your chain, you're going to fight. And that's what we have to do. That's where the strength of the family comes in. Go ahead. We got right before the break. 30 seconds. Go for it.
When you have a guy that walks into a church and starts shooting up everyone, and there's a retired cop who's got his gun out, who's about to pull the trigger and end the threat, do you want that guy to understand violence, or do you want him to start thinking about his feelings?
Yeah, and he doesn't.
Violence in the correct energy is God's plan.
Absolutely it is. In addition to that, hopefully the threat of that violence, and this is where it gets really fun and deep, is the threat of violence in return, ladies and gentlemen, will keep his violence from occurring in the first place. And too often times, it does not. We've got one more segment with Russell Stuart, founder of Beverly Hills Guns. I've got to read a quick excerpt, and then we're going to come back and tell you about it. Don't go away. All right, mics are up. I'm going to go ahead and read this real quick. Guys, we'll be right back. I've got to read an excerpt real fast, and I'll be right back with you. All right, tell Russell I'm going to read a quick excerpt from what he sent me, and I'll let him take it from there, okay?
All right.
Guys, you're going to love this. This book is fantastic. Cannot wait to get my hands on it.
If you own a firearm, you know that a self-defense incident can happen anytime. That's why you need Attorneys on Retainer. They're the only self-defense program backed by real attorneys who specialize in self-defense cases. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
Yes, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I was choking on my drink over in here. Good heavens. I could go another 2 hours easily with Russell Stuart. Real quick, some business to get out of the way. The attorneys on retainer, make sure to join them, please. Absolute no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. Carry a gun, have an attorney. It's that simple. God forbid you ever need to use your gun, you are going to need an attorney, no matter what the circumstances. And you don't want to have to get one after the fact when you're going to say to yourself, my God, I can't believe I've been hearing him talk about this for so long and I haven't done anything about this yet. And now you find yourself in a situation that's going to bankrupt you. Please don't do that. It's not necessary. There's an answer. It's attorneysonretainer.us. It is $35 a month, okay? And by using the AAR promo code, it's going to save you $50 off the sign-up fee. If you're doing it with a family, you also get the $50 off, and it's $25 per head instead of $35. All of it far cheaper than an hourly rate for a good attorney that you're going to need. It's just the way it is, particularly if you live in certain areas. It's a foregone conclusion. So make sure to put the Attorneys on Retainer card in your wallet and have that team of attorneys. When I say team of attorneys, literally, because if you have to go to court, you're going to have up to 4 attorneys present. Think of a dream team in your defense for $35 a month. Absolute no-brainer. Use the promo code AAR and thank them for supporting the program. Won't you please do that? You can find them and all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com. Russell Stuart, welcome back in, my brother. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I want to knock this out with you real quick, and then I do want to talk with you real fast about Glock. But here, I just read an excerpt that you sent. Let me read this. So stop apologizing for existing. We're talking about men here. The world doesn't respect men who apologize. It respects men who stand for something. And let's be clear about what you're apologizing for. You're apologizing for having testosterone, for wanting to lead, for being competitive, for taking up space, for having opinions, for not crying enough, for being too confident or too aggressive or too masculine. You've spent years walking on eggshells, moderating your tone, censoring your thoughts, and shrinking yourself to make other people comfortable. And what did it get you? Well, it got us Barack Obama and Gavin Newsom in California, I can tell you that much. That's from me, not from Russell. No. A promotion? Probably not. Did it get you respect? Nope. A happy relationship? Doubt it. It got you resentment, confusion, and a deep sense that you're living someone else's life. So yeah, stop apologizing. The world doesn't respect men who apologize for existence. It respects men who stand for something. Real masculinity isn't toxic. It's protective. It's loyal. It's disciplined. As well said, Russell. This is great stuff. It's very powerful. I'll let you close out on that, and then let's go to Glock real quick and California real fast to close out the hour.
Well, I wish I did put the Barack Obama and Gavin Newsom.
It works there, doesn't it?
So I appreciate that. And not to jump to a different topic, but I just want to give your sponsor a shout out about the lawyers. I've been in 2 lawsuits in the last 6 months, and to have a great team of lawyers that are backing you is not only crucial, it will end your life if you don't have it. So absolutely join that group, and $35 a month is nothing.
Yeah, that is chump change, and we all know that. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, because you do know that, and you have been involved, as I have. And guys, attorneys are not cheap, and you don't want a cheap one when you need one. Russell,
in California, they'll sue you for not putting enough soy in your latte. So trust me, lawsuits are every day out here.
I've been choking on this sugar-free Red Bull a couple times during this hour, so yeah, thanks for that one. I'm glad I didn't just take a sip there, because it's true. It's so sad. Real quick, the name of the book again, when people can get it and all that, and then we'll move on real fast.
Reclaiming Men, November 14th, so in about 2 weeks from now. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, all the popular places.
All right, so wherever books are sold, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be able to pick it up in just a couple of weeks. And believe me, we'll have you back on to talk about this, particularly when it releases, okay, officially. And thank you. Yeah, thank you for sending these 34 to 38 pages that I got. I read every single one of them. And guys, I'm one of the guys, if you hear me talking about a guest book on this program, I've actually read the book. I'm not one of these people that doesn't read the book and allows a producer to just take it. I actually read the book. And this is powerful stuff, Russell, so thank you very much for this. All right, Glock bailed on their entire line except for the 43, 43X, and the 48X. Those are Glock model numbers, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to the lingo. And they've put a statement out on their website. We've been talking about this for the past week since it was announced. You are a gun shop owner in FFL, Beverly Hills Guns, the only one in Beverly Hills. You've sold guns to lots of famous people. We won't name them. It doesn't matter. you see this from Glock. Let me tell you what bothered me about it. When I saw a guy from California who I knew who he was, and I'm not going to mention him or the shop, but it angered me when he said, and I'm really hopeful that Glock doing this, by doing so, we can get a couple more guns on the California roster. So are you listening, Glock? We really need that on the California handgun roster. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's right. Let's play games for California so we can get guns on a California roster, when the roster is the Second Amendment and California is an infringement all the way around. Let's stop capitulating to California and let's end the roster as we know it. I was angered by that. Russell, your take. Take us away.
Well, the last time you had me on a few weeks ago, we actually had that conversation about the anger about possibly, like, for instance, certain companies just boycotting selling in California until we either got rid of the roster or got Glock back on. Look, the roster has been a completely illegal, unconstitutional thing that we've had to deal with here for decades now. The fact that Glock, which was my best-selling product, I just lost 50% of my revenue.
Unbelievable.
The moment that these woke idiots swooped a pen to get rid of the capabilities of the gun going fully automatic, which has been the case for 40 years. It has not changed. I've asked law enforcement here locally, have there been any cases of crimes committed or arrests made of anyone using a Glock switch, which the answer was no. So they were trying now to get rid of a gun that didn't have a problem in the first place. And then, of course, they exempt law enforcement, which then creates this secondary gray market where cops can still buy the guns. So you've got that complication. And then, and then also, too, for my whole time in selling firearms, Glock is the staple firearm of safety and consistency. And the fact that now that they're taking the quote-unquote unsafe guns off the market, where, in my opinion, this is one of the safest guns that you could ever own, just goes to show you that it has nothing to do with the facts. It has nothing to do with the truth. It has nothing to do with anything. It has to do with power and control. It has to do with stripping rights away from average Americans and making sure that they do not put any criminal in jail for using the same Glock that now I cannot buy to protect my family.
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen,
it is criminal. It is disgusting.
You're
and
right.
It is not only keeping people unsafe, it is destroying businesses like mine.
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, if you want proof of what Russell just mentioned, simply read the response from Everytown for Gun Safety about this entire subject matter, and you'll have your answer right there. They love it. They're claiming responsibility for it, and that's about all you need to know. Russell Stewart, one more time, the book, again, please. This is a great read. Go for it.
Reclaiming Men, out November 14th, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kindle.
All right, you better believe it. I can't wait to see it in print. Congratulations on it. It's a great read. Can't wait to get the rest of it. Russell, thank you for everything that you do. We'll bring you on this week to talk a little bit more about the Glock situation, because you're living I was going to say the dream, but the nightmare in California. Russell Stewart, Beverly Hills Guns. Look him up. Make sure to pick up a copy of the book. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. 6 minutes after the hour, a classic Armed American Radio roundtable with Parkland Father Ryan Petty, CEO of Kahr Arms. We'll get some great take from him on this entire debacle. And combat veteran Brad Premo. Don't go away. The roundtable is next. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break at the top of the hour here, biology break in the lingo, and be back with you at 6 minutes after. As I mentioned, Parkland Dad Ryan Petty will be here, CEO of Kahr Arms, Kahr Firearms Group, all of their great products over there, very well diversified. Justin Moon, and of course, combat vet and the founder of Leadslingers Whiskey, regular on the roundtable for many years now, the great Brad Premo, the four of us, at the table. We'll be back right after the top of the hour, 6 minutes after to be exact. So take yourself a break. Make sure to visit our partners. Pick something up over there, and support the businesses that support you and this program. We appreciate it. They appreciate it. We'll be back with you at 6 minutes after the hour. should be in a second.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Kahr Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center. Proudly presented to you by the National Rifle Association. National Rifle Association. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Fighting for your rights, ladies and gentlemen. It's an ongoing battle every single day. I can tell you that much. Welcome back, or welcome to Armed American Radio's Monstercast. If you're just joining the program, welcome in for a classic Armed American Radio roundtable. If you are rejoining us, welcome back. It's great to have you here. We hope you're enjoying the show as much as we are enjoying bringing it to you, and we do every single day. Wish we could talk about it all day long. Don't have the money and time for that. That'd be, we're 6 days a week. I think that's good enough. Greg in Dallas, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah? I'd like a few more hours, but, it is what it is. Guys, we're in the Kahr Firearms Group studios with you. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom. It's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association and all of our great partners, including CZ. We're on the CZ microphone here at the Patriot Mobile Ranch, and as I said, the National Rifle Association presenting it all to you. You can find all of our great partners over at armedamericanradio.com. Greg, we are live on Facebook for everybody, facebook.com/armedamericanradio, facebook.com/armedamericanradio, and I'll let you take us away, and we'll get to the crew.
Yeah, sure. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. Over on X, we're at AAR Mark. You can also head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. And lastly, to join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations. And I've got Ryan Petty. He had to call in today.
Oh, we have Ryan Petty on the line as well. So let's go right to him because he came in last today. Let's get Ryan Petty on the line. Ryan Petty, Parkland Father, good friend of the program, roundtable regular. How you doing, my brother?
Great to be here, Mark. I'm doing well.
Always a pleasure to have you here. Lots to cover with you guys today. Brad Premo, CEO of Lead Slingers, combat vet, former law enforcement, and longtime contributor to Armed American Radio's Classic Roundtable. Brad, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing good. Something tells me you're up for this conversation today. I don't know why. I just had this feeling. I bet Brad's going to be on fire today. Am I right about that? It was just a weird intuition I had.
Well, we'll see, but I'm feeling pretty good tonight, so I think I'll have a good one.
It depends on the topic, but I got a good one coming up for you guys in Mexico. We're going to talk about that probably at some great length. And Justin Moon, CEO of Kahr Firearms Group. How you doing, Justin? Welcome in, my brother. We are in the Kahr Firearms Group studios. Great to have you here, Justin.
Doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Well, I can't wait to get your opinion on this Mexico stuff we're going to talk about here as the CEO of Kahr Arms, and Ryan Petty being an FFL, and Brad, you and I just being gun lovers and pundits on these topics. It's really scary what we were talking about with the great Alan Gottlieb, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation, in the first hour of the broadcast. So let me take just a couple of moments here to bring folks up to speed. If you're just joining the program, I want you to go back and get the podcast, Hour 1 and Hour 2, 2 great hours. But I went into some detail on this with Mr. Gottlieb, and he gives us a good perspective, and I'm sure we'll get some great commentary here as well. Cheryl Atkinson did a great job reporting, and this was picked up the Baltimore Sun, World News. Mexican government bought U.S. guns used in cartel crimes. Well, Justin, does that shock you, just the headline alone?
Yeah, I mean, the media is pretty liberal, so yeah, it doesn't shock me at all.
All right, so guys, for years, I'll quote from Cheryl now, escalating violence and bloodshed in Mexico was blamed on U.S. gun smuggling and lax firearm laws in the U.S. American-made weapons litter Mexican crime scenes. But what if the truth is far different? A former federal agent is flipping the script with a jaw-dropping twist. Many of the U.S. guns used in cartel crimes were bought by Mexico's own government. Deadly shootouts and clashes with police are a daily reality among Mexico's killer cartels. As a result, Mexico's gun homicide rate is 2 to 3 times worse than the U.S., ladies and gentlemen. Remember these numbers. 2 to 3 times worse than the U.S., with over 21,700 gun murders in 2022. And guys, that's what we know about. We don't even know how many cartel deaths there have been, to be quite frank with you. It's a flashpoint in the debate over firearms and crime and who's to blame. Mexico and gun control advocates, meaning here in the U.S., have long blamed smuggling and America's loose gun laws. That's the story John Dodson says he was told throughout his 15 years as a special agent with the FBI, or excuse me, the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, otherwise lovingly known here as the Bureau, the ATFE, and the E stands for expletives as far as I'm concerned. The narrative was, quote, "We are to blame. Our civilian firearms market, our right to bear arms is to blame for the violence in Mexico and along the southwest border." But the narrative, he says, has been upended by the surprising truth. The vast majority of crime guns recovered in Mexico are purchased directly by the Mexican government. And guys, I've got some numbers on this that's mind-boggling, but Justin, let me start with you. Obviously, liberal media, etc., these are things we've talked about before, but are you surprised to find out that the Mexican government is actually buying those guns? We've been lied to forever, Justin, but we already know that, don't we?
Well, that's a very interesting fact, Mark. I guess if those guns were legally sold to citizens in Mexico, there would be a lot less crime. But if you want to give the give the drug dealers and cartels guns, just sell them to the Mexican government.
Justin, for the absolute win on that one, you were just dead on, to quote my cousin Vinny, kind of, and not use the word that they use in the movie, but you are dead on, blank, accurate, spot on with that. Let's go to Ryan Petty. Ryan, you're in FFL. Are you shocked at all to hear this report from Cheryl Atkinson? I mean, you mean to tell me we've been right all along that it's really not the guns flowing? It's actually guns bought by the Mexican government that are winding up in the cartel hands. Are you shocked by that?
I mean, there's probably only one government, maybe two in North America, less competent than our federal government. Mexico would probably be at the top of my list. So no, not surprised at all. In fact, it makes perfect sense because if you think back, about a year ago, Mark, there was a group of American gun control advocates that went down to Mexico. They were hosted by the federal government in Mexico.
Yep.
And they had a little powwow or a summit where they all got together. And the purpose of that was to try to blame American gun manufacturers and American gun dealers for the cartel violence that was going on, the gun violence that happens on the daily down in Mexico, and the whole these dupes that came down from America, from Brady and from Everytown and from Giffords, and all these groups came down to sort of play patsy with the Mexican officials, who were using them as pawns to try to convince the American people that it was our Second Amendment rights and our own gun manufacturers that were the cause of the problem. And it makes perfect sense if you think about it, because that's the kind of deflection governments do when they know they are in the wrong.
Yeah, and Brad, hang tight. I'm going to get to you in a second. We've got about a minute before the break, maybe a minute and a half. Ryan, I'm going to stay on that for just a second. Justin already nailed it for the win. You just did too, and I feel pretty certain Brad will as well. But yes, we have been told this for years, and we go all the way back. I'm going to quote some from the CCR-KBA press release that I mentioned with Mr. Gottlieb on here, and the actual numbers are astonishing, but they're really not. So, Ryan, we already know ABC and NBC, so we can CBS, CNN, LOL, MSDNC, and in some cases Fox. We all know we're being lied to by the mainstream media. So that begs this bigger question. Why would we ever believe anything that comes from them, Ryan? Anything at all? And why were we able to be duped here? Now, a lot of us were, a lot of us weren't. But that was the narrative. And when we see the American gun grabbers working in conjunction, in unison with the Mexican government, shouldn't that raise our hackles?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, follow the money. Follow the money. And we know the federal government, the Mexican federal government, is very much in. Look, Mexico is a failed state. We know that. It's a failed narco state. It is run. I mean, the last president of Mexico was so embedded in the cartels, he wouldn't even dare criticize them. So it's completely failed state. It's a narco state. And of course, any firearms purchased by the Mexican government are going to end up in the hands of the cartels. It just makes so much sense. There's no, and don't get me started on the media, Mark. I know you're trying to get me going tonight, but look,
no, I'm not going to have to
reason
try.
to believe anything they say. There's never a reason to believe the first thing they say. These people are in the national news media are committed leftists. They're committed to removing our Second Amendment rights because they want to replace our constitutional republic with a democracy where they believe they can be in charge.
And with that, we're going to take it to the break. When we come back, I'm going to shoot it over, pun intended, to Brad Premo. And I'm going to also tie in a story from AWR Hawkins and go back around the table with this because they tie together. And that headline is 2 sheriffs, numerous officers indicted for allegedly helping traffickers run drugs in Mississippi. We can't trust some law enforcement in this country, yet we can trust the Mexican government where they're being run by the cartels. We'll tie it all together for you when we come back. Going to Brad Premo next. Ladies and gents, behind me I have this Gibson SG ebony black, exact same Gibson SG that Angus Young plays. And sitting next to it, I have a beautiful Blueberry Burst Les Paul Standard 60, about 2 years old. And it hasn't been being played as much as the SG. And that's probably just because of the setup, which is done very well. But in honor of Ace Frehley, Greg, remember Ace just passed away a couple weeks ago, right?
Yep.
From Kiss.
Yep.
A lot of people, Kiss has never been real critically acclaimed by music critics, et cetera. I couldn't care less. I grew up listening to their music, and I just like hard driving guitars, so I like their music. It's just the way it is. But they're not easy to play. A lot of suspended chords, and if you guys play guitar or anything, you know what I mean. And my fingers, I gotta work really hard after 3 years of playing several hours a day on some of these suspended chords. But if you play guitar, I don't care if you've been playing 50 years or 5 years or 5 months, it's an ongoing learning experience your entire career. The best of the best, when they die, we're still learning how to play guitar. And so I wanted to learn how to play Shock Me, which is one of my favorite songs that Ace had written a number of years ago. And I got serious about it a couple days ago, and I picked it up really fast. And that's because a lot of reasons. I'm getting better at it. I play it a lot. And I really I'm itching to play this thing sitting behind me right now. And I would love to play it for you here through the system. But I can't because, well, that would be a copyright strike on me over at YouTube for sure. And I don't want to risk that right now because I am pretty certain that Gene and Paul and the boys keep their stuff pretty close to the vest. I'm pretty sure that if I was to rip that tune for you during a break, which I really want to do, because it's so fun to play, I'm pretty sure that would be a copyright strike. But
we got Ryan over on the Opal now.
Oh, okay, good. So when Ryan comes back, he'll have a much better connection because he's dialed directly into the network with us. He uses the internet version of the Studio Commerce equipment that we use here to connect to the network. Yeah, another thing I don't like about playing them is, and a lot of great songs that I would love to play from them, but they're also tuned down a half a step. And guys, you know what I'm talking about if you play an instrument. And if you're moving between stuff that's in standard tuning, I figure, well, I got 4 or 5 guitars. I'll just tune this Les Paul down a half a step and leave it there. And that's what I've done. Oh, does it sound good? Good heavens. So I apologize I can't play it for you because I know I'll get a strike and I don't want to do that. I'd love to say I really don't care, but when we're using their platforms every day, kind of got to play by the rules. Don't have to, but it's the smart thing to do
30.
If you want to stay on their waves. And we're back at you now, guys. Camera's up, Greg.
following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back to the show indeed. National Rifle Association presenting the program to you, nra.org/AAR. I was out, came out to the studio earlier before the show today. I was going to show, because I'm on camera, I was going to show you the range bag, and well, lo and behold, my son's got it filled with stuff now, because ever since he turned 21, he has spent more time at the range than he has spent at home, which is a beautiful thing. We've always spent a lot of time shooting together since he was about 6 years old, but he's really, really spending a lot of time now. I wouldn't be shocked to see him move into a competitive deal, and he's a great shooter too. So we'll see. Maybe we can push him in that direction because he is so good. But I was going to hold that range bag up for you. I can't do it, but you can see a picture of it at nra.org/AAR, nra.org/AAR. And if you join or renew, one of the two, for a 1-year or 3-year membership using that promo code, we're going to send you that range bag for a 1-year or 3-year join or renew, either one. And a 5-year or life membership, we're going to save you money on all of them, by the way. But for the 5-year or life, we're going to send you the 10x42 binoculars with the lens covers and the case. Great pair of binoculars, super high quality stuff. So join us, won't you please, or rejoin us, nra.org/AAR. Take advantage of free stuff. Love giving away free stuff, really do. And one of you, at some point in probably the next month, is going to win a new range bag. All of you who have taken advantage of that giveaway, one of you is going to win a range bag filled with some really cool swag. You can find the NRA and all of our great partners, including Kahr Firearms Group, CZ, Patriot Mobile, Heaven's Harvest, Crossbreed Holsters, Patriot Supply, Digital, Centerfire Digital. They're all there for you at armedamericanradio.com, including MyPillow. And we were talking earlier. Help Mike out, man. He's had a tough couple years. You might not be seeing a lot of his spots anymore. We can help him here at Armed American Radio, and I hope you do. Pick up some of the slippers. Greg is wearing the MyPillow slippers right now in the studio in Dallas at the headquarters, mypillow.com/AAR, and take advantage of all the great discounts and say thanks for supporting Armed American Radio. Brad Premo, let's go over to you on this. You know, there's a lot happening here to unpack with this, okay? First off, the Mexican government, we know they're corrupt. The cartel has infiltrated it. You heard Ryan say, and Justin, both for the win, that this is a failed narco state. We already know that. And the reason I mention AWR's piece on the 2 sheriffs and the numerous officers indicted for allegedly helping traffickers run drugs in Mississippi, well, the traffickers, what connection do they have? Mexican cartels. Number one, you can't trust certain factions in the United States of America to not be corrupted. And these are just the ones that have gotten caught, ladies and gentlemen. There's other ones out there. Now, 99% of all cops are great cops. But this is how it works. This is how the corruption flows across the border. It's all a part of the same thing. What would make you believe that anything coming from the gun grabbers and the Mexican governments, when it comes to our guns, lawfully manufactured in the U.S., blaming us for their problems when we tie these stories together? Brad, it all makes sense, doesn't it? But we don't want it to, but it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, of course. And, you know, I've always thought that, like, you know, we're not getting the whole story as far as they're saying American guns are behind a lot of the homicides in Mexico, because, you know, the weapons that I'm seeing the cartel members using are not weapons that are available to the average everyday American. These guys are using belt feds. I've seen M2 50 cal machine guns. I mean, I had an Army buddy who was stationed down in El Paso at Fort Bliss. I went to visit him, and, you know, we sat on his back patio and watched a gunfight across the border, and they were using fully automatics, probably AKs, seeing tracer rounds going back and forth. So, I mean, like, what they're doing is they're stealing or, you know, diverting weapons meant for the Mexican military. And so the Mexican military has been thoroughly penetrated as well. And it doesn't surprise me that there's law enforcement that's been compromised. I mean, you know, they're going to secure their smuggling routes. And part of doing that is compromising law enforcement where they can. Money talks. These guys have a lot of it. They have a lot of money. And so, you know, really what it gets back to is we have been absolutely insane for not closing that border down with extreme prejudice like we are doing now. It's been completely like just absolute malfeasance and malpractice by the Biden administration and Democrats to leave that border wide open, knowing exactly what's going on out there, and it's all coming across the border. That stuff does not stay in Mexico. It comes across the border. You go any place down there, and you see signs of cartel activity. They don't even try to hide it. I mean, it's probably different now, but at one point, they weren't even trying to hide it.
Yeah.
You know, and so it is, you know, in my opinion, we actually ought to do an armed incursion to Mexico, set up about a 10-mile buffer zone inside Mexico that's controlled by us, and nothing gets through there.
You know, that's a whole nother conversation, and we're seeing, you know, bits and pieces of that unfold around Venezuela right now. And I appreciate your commentary because you're spot on. Justin, when there were 2,000 guns that were found, 799 of the 2,000 guns were originally at crime scenes. Of 2,000, 799, 800 of those guns were purchased by the Mexican military. Now, that's a small number. It's likely far more than that. That's the ones that they have, Justin. And as you just heard from Brad, we're seeing a lot of fully automatic weapons. When you've got a corrupt government, a corrupt military, and cartels that have as much money as tech companies do, that money is going to corrupt, Justin. And what we're seeing here is not shocking to me. The report itself is shocking because it's actually being reported. And Cheryl Atkinson did a great job on this, and I got to hand it to the Baltimore Sun for reporting this. I believe that we might begin seeing some more mainstream coverage out of this because the Baltimore Sun covered it. I don't know. We'll see. It should be huge news all over the country, Justin. Don't you agree?
Well, it should be, but we know the liberal media will cover it up because they're in bed with the deep state of all the governments in the world. I mean, let's face it, governments, you know, the norm of governments is that they're corrupt and they are in bed with organized crime. And you can't really tell the difference between the gangsters and the government in most places around the world. I mean, America was the exception to the rule because we had, quite strong believing Christians who took over, who established this country and liberated us from the British. And so we had a moral society for a long time. But, you know, that moral society in the U.S., unfortunately, is decaying.
Yeah, it really is, and there's a lot to go into there that we don't have time for. But you're spot on. We'll just leave that on the surface there. Ryan, this let me get his name here because I've got a lot of windows open up here. Let me just glance back over. When we first started telling the Mexicans you have to do something to stop the drug trafficking coming north of the border, the Mexican authorities needed resources and funds to do that, Dodson said. He's the whistleblower. So we started funding these operations, providing them with hundreds of millions of dollars to purchase equipment, much of that firearms. He says he queried ATF's gun tracing network, and he saw that most of the U.S. guns turning up at cartel crime scenes were originally sold to the Mexican government. Dodson said, by the way, in this report from Cheryl Atkinson, that he was, quote unquote, flabbergasted. Now, I'm not flabbergasted by it. That doesn't shock me. We're getting ready to take a break. Ryan, when we come back, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and then we'll move on with some other topics. I'll throw it back to Brad one more time, too, just to get a final statement here. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, the second half of Armed American Radio's classic roundtable on a Sunday begins anew. Second half already, so buckle in, guys. It flies right by. It always does. Hope you're enjoying the program as much as we're enjoying bringing it to you. This is scary information here coming out of Mexico for a lot of different reasons. And we'll address that to close out this topic before we move on when we come back with the crew. Don't go away. Back right after the break. And mics are up.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sebastian Gorka, letting you know that the Desperado Sport Fishing Crew in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and our right to bear arms. Now, back to Mark Walters.
We love Sebastian Gorka. Thank you for that rejoin. Dr. Gorka, you've been running that for a long time with us. Maybe get him to do a new one, but we love him. He's neck deep in the government right now. We appreciate everything that he does and for lending his voice to the show. Welcome back to the Kahr Firearms Group studios with me, Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom here in front of the CZ microphone at the Patriot Mobile Command Center, the ranch here. Yes, and it's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. All of our partners can be found at armedamericanradio.com. Ryan Petty, I think I was going back to you. Is that right? Was Greg right in my ear?
I believe so.
Okay, well, let's do that. And let me just make this comment, and I do want to throw it back over to Brad on this too, because there is a little bit more to talk about here. But the Supreme Court, obviously the Mexican government, working in conjunction with American gun grabbers, came to this country to sue the United States, sue the gun manufacturers in our country. Now, keep in mind this explosive report we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, which tells you that the American gun grabbers are in on it. Now, Alan Gottlieb pointed out, Ryan, Brad, and Justin in the first hour of the show, clearly they're aware of what was happening. There's no other explanation, none whatsoever. That's my opinion. But Alan made it very, very clear that over 4 years of the Biden administration knew this. They were controlling the DOJ. They were controlling the ATF. They knew these numbers. Yet they invite the Mexicans here to sue American gun manufacturers in this country at our Supreme Court. 4 years of lies. And as Justin pointed out, complete, total media cover-up. Ryan, it just proves you absolutely right when you tell us every single time you're on this show, the left what?
Will never stop.
And they'll go to whatever length is necessary to destroy your right to bear arms, even using a failed narco state government. When they knew these numbers, they were working in conjunction with the administration, ladies and gentlemen. They had to know it's that simple, Ryan.
Now, look, like-minded leftists don't care about borders, right? We all live in this global melting pot of whatever, open borders and free flow of, narcotics and human trafficking and everything else. Look, the left wants chaos. They want it in Mexico, and they want that chaos to spill over into the borders of the United States so that they can instill fear in Americans so that they can take more and more power. It's not going to work. Fortunately, President Trump was elected this last election, and he's literally sealed off that border. The flow of drugs has slowed down. The flow of human trafficking is slowed down, and the influence of the cartels on America and Americans, killing over 100,000 Americans a year with their poison that they ship across the borders. All of that is slowing down or stopping completely. And Americans, look, I think back to our founders, right? They understood that governments get corrupted. And whether that be the federal Mexican government or our own federal government, they knew that men love power. And so what did they do? They gave us the Second Amendment. They codified the right for us to keep and bear arms to protect ourselves from both, for self-defense, but also to protect us against tyranny. And we should be forever grateful for what they did for us. And there's never been a time in the history of the United States where it's been more important to defend and protect and restore the Second Amendment than it is right now.
You are spot on. Brad Premo, let me segue over to accountability here, okay? Because as far as I'm concerned, the actions of the American gun grabbers using our Supreme Court to come after American manufacturers when they had to know this because they were working hand in hand with the administration, and the administration no doubt knew this. In fact, I would go so far as saying the previous administration was probably in on it, to be honest with you. How do we know that? Oh, how can you say that, Mark? Well, let's go back to Fast and Furious. When the government not only was in on it, they were running it. They weren't in on it, they were it, Brad. And no one has been held accountable at the BATFE, anywhere else at any level of government for Brian Terry's death as a result of what they did. Now we know this report. Is there going to be accountability? And I'm trying not to laugh when I say that, Brad, but, you know, Alan said probably not. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, probably not. I think that's mainly just because, I mean, I think the Trump administration, they have bigger fish to fry. I mean, they're talking about RICO charges for the Soros. I mean, you know, there's no telling how deep all that goes. And I think they're looking more in that direction, which is probably, if I had to guess, probably more bang for our buck as far as like what it may do for American society to actually get those people in chains.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So, you know, I don't expect there to be any accountability now, at least not for the people who organize this. Now, you know, I think we're seeing some accountability for drug traffickers out in the oceans getting, you know, blown to smithereens, and you know, and hopefully that continues, and maybe there'll be some more accountability as far as that goes. But, you know, this is just, we got to right this wrong. Mexico has been a long-standing problem for our country. I mean, just over 100 years ago, we did a punitive expedition in that country because they were a failed state back then and couldn't control Pancho Villa. He kept on coming across the border and doing things. We had to send our military down there to fix that. Lo and behold, again, we got the military down there on the border again to account for the fact that the Mexicans are completely incapable of having a country or running their own government. And we need to start treating them that way. They're not an ally. They're a horrible neighbor. I mean, if you ever had a bad neighbor, you know, we need to start treating them that way and just admit that they can't do it.
Well,
and treat them accordingly.
That's a great analogy. Justin, I hadn't thought about it in that respect, but what Brad just said, they're a bad neighbor. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin, imagine if you had a fence between you and your neighbor's house, and your neighbor kept sending everybody from their home through your fence all day long onto your property all day long, and put it in perspective. Let's go right to the micro instead of the macro, Justin. That's a fair assessment about the Mexican government, isn't it? Not real good neighbors.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair assessment, but I don't think that's the entire story because, you know, we have to remember that the Biden administration worked in cahoots with the Mexican government to bring all those people over. So it's not like the Mexican government were doing it themselves. It was like our deep state working out a deal with the Mexican deep state. And let's face it, what is the deep state? It's usually the intelligence services related people. And what's the job description of people who work in intelligence? If you can tell me if there's any difference between a job description of an intelligence officer and a mob boss or mob worker, tell me what's the difference of the job description. They look identical to me.
Yeah, in many cases. I mean, look, when we're talking about CIA, Brad, you get all this stuff, and Ryan, I know you do too. But you're dealing with a lot of shady characters in a lot of cases to get some of this information that we need. We are paying off very bad people to try to get this information. It's like that in real life. But here we have a government working in conjunction with our government. No doubt about it, Justin. I think you're right about that. And that goes to accountability. So let me ask you the same question I asked Brad. Do you think anybody will ever be held accountable for this? Rhetorical at this point, but let me hear your answer.
Well, if we want to hold people accountable, I would look over at the Central Intelligence Agency. I'm sure a lot of it starts there.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Ryan, would you agree with that? Again, these are questions we likely will never know the answers to, quite frankly, guys, as much as I hate to admit that. But at least we can talk about it, guys. 30 seconds, Ryan. Take us to the break, then we'll move on to the next topic.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff our federal government does that I think we would, well, let me say maybe 20 years ago we would have been shocked, but nothing would really shock me at this point. The problem that we have is that we have unelected bureaucrats in the executive branch that believe they have they believe they can do whatever they want whenever they want, and until Trump can remove those folks from their positions, we're going to continue to have this kind of deep state, failed state stuff going on.
They've been getting away with it. Well, there's a new sheriff in town. He's rooting it out, and the left can't stand it. One more segment to go. We're going to go to Massachusetts when we come back. Wow, guys, final segment already. Unbelievable. I think no one is happier about that than Greg. And Greg is usually not happy about ending the show because he loves the show. But, Greg, you've been gone for a week. Tell us what you did.
I spent a lot of time minding my own damn business, gaming, and I did a little bit of traveling.
The minding your own business part, that's kind of hard to do nowadays, isn't it?
No, I've found it incredibly easy. Incredibly easy.
I guess when you're doing a staycay like you did, it is pretty easy to do.
I didn't look at my phone.
Yeah.
Unless I used it for music.
That's hard to do, too, by the way. I have to hand you that one.
Yeah, I just turned Spotify on, and I'm out working in my yard or out sitting in my carport or, having a beer or just sitting by the fire, enjoying peace and quiet.
That's usually one of my favorite downtimes of fall, and I love fall. I really do. Coming from Florida, took me a while to get accustomed to it after all those years, but I really do enjoy it. I enjoy the spring and the fall, that change of season when the heat dissipates just a little bit. And I have not yet cranked up the fire pit, either of the two fire pits at the ranch yet this year. Not even on Halloween on Friday, and that's because I had to go to a wedding in Cleveland, Georgia, up in the mountains. Yesterday. It was a couple-hour drive up. My daughter's one of her best friends got married yesterday, but beautiful wedding up in the Georgia mountains, man. The drive up was gorgeous. It's a windy mountain road,
Yeah.
And we're peaking right about now. Maybe next week will be peak here as far as leaves go, but it was a really pretty drive. And so even on Halloween, we usually put the fire pit out, driveway. All the neighbors were out, had their stuff going, and we kind of had to lay low because we had to move on the next day to the wedding. But I haven't even had the fire pit going here yet. And guys, this is sacrilegious here, but I'll say this on a live mic. I haven't even had the Lang barbecue cooker going in the last 8 weeks. 8 weeks on the Lang. Can you believe that?
What are you doing?
Sacrilegious, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
No, I'll tell you why. I'll be honest with you, because I got yelled at. I had it. My house sits on the corner, and the front of my house is actually my driveway, right? And I'm on a cul-de-sac as well. And I got a really beautiful lot with the creek running through it down in the holler. That's all true with the ranch. That's the real deal. I got a creek back there down in the holler right behind the shed here. It's beautiful in the studio. It's really nice. I had a nice piece of property. Got lucky there. But the front of the house faces the cul-de-sac. So if I ever want to see the front of my house, I got to go past my driveway and my garage and swing around the cul-de-sac, and then back into the driveway. But I had the Lang right out there by the driveway, which looks like your side yard, but technically, because that's where the address is, it's actually the front of my house, which is why I was able to build where I built here, because the back of the house is really the side of the house because of the way it sits. But my wife was like, "Can we please get that cooker out of out of that next to the driveway there?" And I said, "Oh, you're killing me."
30.
Thing weighs 1,100 pounds. And I had to have these guys roll that thing down the hill. Oh, I thought they were going to kill themselves, man. But ever since it's been down there, I just haven't used it as much because of where it's at, hauling wood and all that stuff. But for the past 8 weeks, I haven't used it. And usually that thing is smoking up the hood at least once every 7 to 10 days. So I guess I'm going to have to get back on that this week when it stops raining.
The neighbors are wondering what's wrong with you if you're like in the hospital or something.
Yeah, when I first moved in, I had a cooker that wasn't the Lang, and I told the neighbors when I came in, they all saw the big cooker. I said, "If you see smoke coming over here, bring beer, because I'm cooking for you."
This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
Yeah, you know me, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, you really need to do this. You heard Russell Stewart talking about it in the last hour. Someone who knows a little bit about attorneys and cost and so forth. And if you unfortunately have to use your firearm, which you think you might, that's why you carry one. Hopefully you don't. But if you do, you're going to be investigated. You could even be charged, particularly where you live. depending if you're back behind the blue wall in a number of these states, they'll aggressively pursue you. And during an investigation part, you're not entitled to a lawyer. Unless you have attorneys on retainer, then you can turn it over to your attorneys. And if you do go to court, if they do charge you, you not only have your attorney in your state at AOR, you also have a team of up to 4 attorneys total. Think of it in terms of a dream team of attorneys working to keep you out of trouble for simply defending yourself. It is worth the price of admission. $50 off the sign-up fee, $35 a month for 4 attorneys. Think about that. You multiply those 4 attorneys at $500 an hour. That's $2,000 an hour. You don't want this after the fact. Just get off the fence and take care of it now. Put it in your pocket, the card, and never worry about it again. And God forbid, if you ever have to use your firearm, you make one phone call, attorney-client privilege instantly, they go to work for you, including expert witnesses, forensics, anything they need. And it's $35 a month, folks. This is an absolute no-brainer. Please. One of the greatest sponsors we've ever had, if not the best we've ever had. AttorneysOnRetainer.us. Use the promo code AAR and take advantage of those discounts and have a full team of attorneys on your side when you need it the most. Do not make the mistake and then have to look back and go, why didn't I do that? Just get it done. AttorneysOnRetainer.us. The promo code is AAR. Support the program. They have your back. We have your back. Great sponsorship with Attorneys on Retainer. You can find them and all of our great partners, including Kahr Firearms Group. I've got the ported X9 getting ready to ship in a couple days. Can't wait to tell you about that. The X9, I'm having to fight my son for that gun now, along with the NRA range bag. It's a constant battle here, but these are fun battles, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, I want to carry that gun. Let me have the range bag. Can I use the binoculars tomorrow? Oh, do I have an Attorneys on Retainer card? Where's my Heaven's Harvest? Where's my Crossbreed holsters? Guys, this is the real deal. We just got a package from Crossbreed 2 days ago as well. Belts, everything for the car, everything. They're all available for you at armedamericanradio.com or .org. Welcome back in. Brad Premo, CEO, Lead Slingers, combat vet, former law enforcement. I do want to ask you this question because of your law enforcement background. I did mention the 2 sheriffs, numerous officers indicted for allegedly helping traffickers run drugs in Mississippi. This is a really bad story all the way around before we go to Massachusetts, Brad. When you have 2 sheriffs, I'll quote from AWR, and numerous officers were arrested and indicted for allegedly helping traffickers run drugs in the Mississippi Delta, as well as in Memphis and in at least 2 instances in Miami. Now, I don't have to tell you, you live in Tennessee, how bad the crime is in Memphis. Trump's aware of it. They're sending in help. They're applauding him for doing that. But Memphis is a tough city. This just speaks to what happens when huge money is involved. It's sadly easy to corrupt. And when these guys are working with drugs in the Mississippi Delta and Memphis, that all ties back to the cartels we were just talking about, Brad. This is a really bad story.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the old saying, no one hates a dirty cop more than a good cop, but I'll tell you, I mean, in my experience, that's true. And I didn't really work with anybody that was dirty. I mean, not that I know of. I mean, if something happened, that happened after I left for sure. But like the level of dishonesty and, you know, to be essentially a cartel asset. They need to be in prison the rest. Yeah, rest of their lives to be spent in prison. You know, and they need to lose their freedom, because when you think about it, what they're doing, they're not just giving free passage. They're probably just giving free passage to these, you know, drug runners, and they're getting money for it. But ultimately, what's happening is those drugs are then being offloaded to gang members in Memphis, who are then distributing their own communities and killing people, and the violence that comes with the drug trade. It all thrives on the supply of drugs. I mean, when I was working the streets, the hood was quiet when there was no drugs. We could tell when the streets were dry, when there was no coke, when there was no crack to be sold, they couldn't get any powder. Nothing was happening because there was nothing to do. Those guys were inside. They were playing video games. They were doing whatever. They weren't out selling dope. They weren't out getting disputes and spats and shooting at each other. And the supply of drugs is directly related to the amount of violence those gangs get into night in and night out. And those cops were aiding and abetting it by giving those drugs free passage into the country. they need to go to prison the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and they likely will. They likely will. I had had an opportunity. I say this is after the fact, Justin, but I had a good friend when I was in the trucking business who I invited out on my business partner's yacht from a business for a business meeting, and he said, "Can I bring a friend with me?" And I said, "Sure." The guy's name was Carl Walden, and that's right. I'm naming him right here. I've named him before. Karlwaldon, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to look him up. I had a fascinating conversation with him, Justin. He wound up being an undercover narcotics officer for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and I spent more time down below deck with him, conversing with him about some of the things and some of the work he was involved in. 2 weeks later, he was busted and wound up being named Jacksonville's dirtiest cop ever in history, Justin. And when I met him, I've still got his business card here. He was a member of the SWAT team, ran their narcotics undercover. He was arrested for murdering somebody, working with 2 undercover cops that were working security at banks. They were robbing people coming in at business owners, and they killed a guy by the name of Sammy Saphir. Guys, you can look it up. He's now doing life in a federal penitentiary in the Carolinas. Justin, when you see stories like this, it does happen, and every single dollar bill that we're talking about, Justin, feeds right back to the Mexican cartels at some point. It's all tied together, Justin. That's why I don't think we'll ever see accountability that we were talking about in the first hour, in the first couple segments of the program, Justin. I just don't, sadly.
Well, I agree with you, Mark. I think a lot of Americans don't realize yet how deep corruption goes throughout.
Oh, it's bad.
Multiple levels in our country. I mean, Pelosi's comment just says it all when she talked about MS-13 being God's children and needing to, be part of the family. So with that kind of comment, we know that, at least in the Big D party, at the highest levels, they are very much in bed with the cartels.
Well, they clearly are. And when you see the organizations that they're funding and working with, when you're talking about the anti-gun groups and what we were just talking about over the hour with the entire Mexico story and the guns running and everything else, and you take this all the way back to Fast and Furious, that's just what we know of, guys. That's just what we know of. It runs far deeper than that. We're not going to make it to the story about Massachusetts. We'll hit on that on the Armed American Radio Daily Defense Show. Ryan, I'll give you last word on that, but there's corrupt cops everywhere. This stuff all ties back together. Ryan, you got 20 seconds. Go for it. Do we have Ryan Petty? Did we lose Ryan? Guess we did. That's okay. Hey, Ryan jumped in. Justin jumped in. Brad Premo jumped in. Apologize if we lost you there, Ryan. We love you. You are a fan favorite for a reason. Justin Moon, CEO of Kahr Arms. This is the Kahr Firearms Group Studios, ladies and gentlemen. Justin, we love you. And Brad Premo, great insight as always. Thank you all for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get up and do this again tomorrow because they don't want us to. Tomorrow I will be taping a segment of Cam and Company, so you'll want to check out Cam Edwards, Cam and Company later tomorrow afternoon when it goes up on Town Hall and BearingArms.com. And a couple other radio spots I've got to do. Until we meet on the radio, carry on, carry off, and carry absolutely everywhere. Never, ever, ever leave your cave without your club. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow.
You just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by the National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association on the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, guys, thanks for being here today. We appreciate it very much. Several hundred of you watching on X and a bunch of you watching on Facebook and YouTube and Rumble and all that fun stuff, and over at Riverside.fm as well, and on ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I always say, as much as we enjoy bringing it to you, because we do. It's important stuff, and we thank you, and we thank you for supporting our partners. Please do that. Visit ArmedAmericanRadio.com. We have a great group of sponsors over there. Please support them. Spend some money over there. Grab just one box of ammo. Pick up a Heaven's Harvest piece. Some of the stuff over there, some of the emergency food supplies. Visit Bud's Gun Shop. Great specials going on over there every single day. You never know what's going to pop up, and we are going to be up there broadcasting here in the very near future. In the next few weeks, we're working on that right now. A lot of people are already, believe it or not, Greg, as you know, gearing up for SHOT Show, which is coming up in January, and that's right around the corner as well. But we'll try to get up there. Well, we are going to get up there before SHOT Show. So, guys, support our partners. We appreciate it. Join the NRA. Join the Second Amendment Foundation. Pick up some of the great products that we offer over there. These are amazing people. An Attorneys on Retainer guide, biggest no-brainer we've ever had. If you don't have an Attorney on Retainer card, you are really doing yourself a disservice if you carry a firearm. Fix that problem now, because it is a problem. If you carry a gun, have an attorney. It's that simple, and you will never beat the $35 a month. Guys, I love each and every one of you. Stay safe out there today. Enjoy what's left of your day, this weird time change thing going on, and we'll see you on the radio tomorrow. Thanks for being here.
All right.